Sorry. I mean to scare you. I mean to scare you. Not that you're like a not that you're like a scarable person or anything. I know you're a little stronger than that. Hello everybody. What's up? How are we doing tonight? How art thou we doing? Sorry, oh my god. Sorry it took me so long to switch the stream on. I was in a rush. I got home at around like 7:30, so and then I was like, oh, let me cook dinner real quick, and then I'll cook dinner, and then I got dinner done about like 7:50, and then I remembered at the last like 10-minute mark that I was like, oh shoot, I'm having a guest over tonight, and I don't want to like pre-eat dinner, and then have like a guest show up and then not be hungry at all when I make them food and stuff like that. So I was like, oh shoot! So I've got like a plate of like sandwiches. I got like a plate of like charcuterie sandwiches, like I wrapped up back in my fridge, and I was like, oh crap! And then I had to get the game started and the stream up and running. So, hello everybody. Hello. How have we been today? Hello. Look, a lot of new faces today. Why is there like so many people I've never seen before in my chat right now? Hello, by the way. Hello, Baller. Hello, Bill. Hello, Princess. Hello, Really Rango. Hello, Bill Cipher. Hello, Banana. Hello, Gantzilla. How we doing? Scared me so hard. Sorry. I didn't mean to shout. What am I playing? Today, we are going to be playing some... Let me get it up on the screen. Today we're going to be playing some Suzerain. Some Suzerain. It's a very narrative-heavy game, so if you're not really into, like, it's a very political game. It's a very narrative-heavy game. We are the ruler of a nation, and we're going to be making decisions on where to take the country. At the current moment, I'm leaning towards, pretty much like a centrist theocracy that has communist sympathies. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see if we get our heads cut off. I guess more than anything, that's the name of the game tonight. Will we get our heads cut off? Hello, Astroman. What's poppin'? Sorry, Astroman. I need to move you for a second so I can see my Discord. Graham is pinging me. Never mind. Yeah. Yeah, Graham. Yeah, Graham. Have a wizard. Graham. Thank you for reminding me, Graham. I also completely forgot that I got home and I was like, oh, I don't have the schedule uploaded. I don't have scheduled streams ready. Because this morning when I woke up, I didn't have any of that ready because last night and this morning I was editing footage for videos and stuff like that. Oh boy, it's been busy. It's been a busy couple of days. It's been a busy week. It's my weekend today. I don't have work for the next 3 days. So I'm hoping to finish up a couple of videos, get some stuff out. Really show you guys, really the core of how to get your nuts stepped on. By the way, I'm drinking a Dr. Pepper Mini. Full sugar. I'm not one of those babies who drinks a Diet Dr. Pepper because, I actually like it when I die earlier. And I know a lot of people are like, well, let me drink a diet so I die less fast. Tonight, we're dying quick. But like I said, the game is very, very narrative heavy. There's gonna be a lot of reading. I'll try to make jokes along the way. I'm not very good with the jokes. My guest apparently is already on the train, because like I live in Seattle, and my guest tonight is only like maybe like 13 blocks away, and so they're taking the light rail over here, and the light rail is like really quick. I'm gonna be honest, Seattle's metro light rail system is actually probably one of the most impressive modes of transportation here in America, at least. It goes very quickly. You can hop onto a train maybe once every 10 minutes or so. It's really efficient. And I think, with probably, if I had to guess, a new administration coming in for like mayoral and executive county and stuff like that, because we had a special election this year, they want to get it down to, 4 minutes a train, and I'm gonna be honest, that's crazy. Do you hear them? Who should I be hearing? Oh, sorry, Gambling Goober. I almost called you Gambling Gooner. Which, you know, that would be appropriate for tonight, so. Let me hop into the game. I think last week we played this. We got the L1 project started. We're sorting out the game. We're sorting out our salad right now. We haven't upset too many tummies, but we're still rolling. Hang on, my guest is here actually, so I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna mute. I'm gonna leave this on so you can watch my hat swivel around, I guess. I'm going to go open the door for my guest. BRB. Okay, I'm back. Oh, hello. I want to know how VTuber rigs work. Really, Rango? I think they take a anime girl and they take her bones out and then they fill it with wires. If you've ever seen Neon Genesis Evangelion, it's kind of like that. Dr. Pepper. See, the thing with Dr. Pepper is that I like the scientific artificial taste of it. But it's got like a really weird note that sort of like burns my tongue, and I can't tell if that's the carbon monoxide or, I mean the carbon dioxide or a different separate chemical, I should say. Gonna be real here, I have been seeing what happens when I say something like, do you hear them? Genuinely, you've got the best reaction, Gambling Goober. What did I say? What did I say? What did I say? Do I hear them? Probably something like that. Anyway, I'm gonna hop right into it because I've been waiting to play Suzerain all week. Last stream we started last week, I think, we started construction on the L1. Let me take my hat off. There we go. It's been a while since I haven't had the hat on. Oh my god, he's bald! We started construction on the L1 high-speed railway. I have not done a run where I've built the railway before. I usually build the highway into Agenland so I can boost the economy there, but I guess the railway is better for our overall economy? Oh no. Anarchy. Yeah, so it would seem. You were just confused and laughed at all and almost called me Gambling Gooner. That's right. That's a good name. Gambling Gooner is a good name. What can I say? Anyway, we are playing as Swordland tonight. Because we can only play Swordland or Rizia. Sorry we're not playing the nation of Riz. You're gonna have to deal with fictional Estonia now for, I guess. Alright, let me hop right in. Vogsland urges calm. Chancellor Hagel has released a statement through official channels urging calm on Rumburg's Swordland dispute. The General Secretary has also mentioned that climbing tensions should immediately be de-escalated to protect peace and prosperity in Eastern Mercopa. I could go for a little bit of war. I don't know what he's on about. I'm all for war. Hang on, my phone is vibrating in my pocket. As if to say, please, look, hey! As if to say, as Germa says, hey, look at me! Not my joke. Kill that guy, by the way. God, my phone's on 50%, which is insane, because I don't touch my phone at all at work. Your hat fell, King. I told you to keep your head up. I'm sorry, life. I'm sorry. Let me... Something like that. I applaud you, man. Thanks. Hello, Graham. What's up? You were finishing your main menus? How's the game going? I'm so glad I actually have game developers in my chat now. Not as good as it was. Damn, really? War! I hope we get to go to war. Minister Manager's Rural Development Vision. What is Mr. Manger's vision on rural development? An ambitious investment plan concept aimed at revitalizing Swordland's rural economies and ensuring the nation's food sustainability, dubbed the Grunny Rural Development Investment. The plan envisions judicious resource allocation to invigorate agricultural communities, strengthen food security, and bolster the regional economy of Gruni. Gruni is in the southeast. Okay, gotcha. Cooperation with Rumburg, an economic imperative. We probably should do that. WPB protest electoral bill. Job freeze sparks fears from Gassam financial stab. IOTOC plan, a global perspective. Okay. Gotcha. So tensions are rising. Tensions are indeed rising. We cannot do diplomatic missions just yet to Agnolia and Wayland. I would like to make deals with both of them because they're our smaller neighbors, and we can you know, we can leverage a little more power over them. And then I think we're gonna lean into Volgsland because they're our neighbor, and not the Arcasian, not the ATO, because they're Grungo. Why would we ever do that? How's it going, Graham? It's going pretty good. I'm not sure if I'm getting sick or not. My throat has been, like, scratchy for, like, a week now, but my bones feel fine. It's really weird. I might just be talking too much. I have started taking, like, breath mints, or, like, lifesaver mints. And I know you're not supposed to be talking a lot when you eat menthol, because it, like, dries it out. Making the main menu is probably the most easy part. Really? I know a lot of game developers that have, like, an impossibly hard time with UI. Especially, like, Roblox developers. It's hard to find a game with, like, a UI nowadays in Roblox. Drink tea? Yeah, Rango, that's a good suggestion. I have a couple of teas, and I need to drink more of it. I usually drink it before I go to bed, though. Then my throat really relaxes. Then I get really relaxed. Alright, Rumburg, what's the deal? Queen of Rumburg, Beatrice Livingston, has released a statement this morning to publicly condemn the closure of Swordland's consulate in Dome. Thornborough has also accused Swordland of increasing tensions in the region. You better believe I am. Yes. Ice cream is so good. Let me see. How is our local economy doing? I would like to get Volgsland access to Helioport, but I also want to make a deal with Agnolia. I'm not sure if they'll let me do both, but we'll see. It's like drawing actually zoning in is the pain of it. Yeah. Alright, Langkurg, what's the deal? What's up with Langkurg? Incident at President Saul's mansion. A private boat near Tarkeen Saul's mansion on Duru Island prompted the Coast Guard to fire warning shots. Despite the initial alarm, former President Saul allowed the boat to approach for a brief conversation. The occurrence has raised questions about the security protocols near the obscure mansion. Details on the conversation remain undisclosed. Uh-oh. Probably, if I had to guess, it's probably one of those Epstein boats. That's our economy. We don't need to worry about Conriat. Promising industrial potential. The mayor of Conriat, Chris Shar, reports that the decision to start construction of the Loser 1 high-speed railway project caused industrial investors all over the country to invest money in the regions near the city. Nice. I'm hoping that this boosts our economy by quite a bit. The interstate system in Ag and Land usually doesn't give you too much economy bounce back, but you get a little bit. Hello, Hunter. What's up? Welcome back, man. How's it going? Alright, the mayor is hopeful that completion of the project will result in substantial economic growth. Money? I'm rubbing my hands together as if I was raised by flies, let me tell you. Moorbell? Nature Preservation Protest. The Nature Preservation Foundation is protesting against the remaining coal industry. We definitely... we might... Oh, this could be tough, because if we do axe our foreign investments into oil and our foreign oil production, then we probably should move back into coal, because we would have, like, a big energy deficit, which would turn our economy into rubble. Hello, LolMG, what's up? Good morning! What are you talking about? It's 8 o'clock at night. The group is voicing concerns about the environmental impact of the industry. The protest is gaining momentum and drawing attention to the need for sustainable energy alternatives. The future of the coal industry operations in Moorbell is uncertain. Let's take a look at Moorbell. Moorbell has a coal-based economy, you say. 0.3 billion SR. All Sordish. Damn. Damn, brother, damn. Alright, that is... Let's read the report on the L1. The Sordish State Corporation has reported that preparatory work for the L1 has already started. We love to see it. And our next... Alright, that's all the information. Now we actually get to play the video game. Sounds like a fancy creature. Good morning. Asian time zones. Yeah, my viewership does tend to have like an East Asian vibe to it. Hang on, my phone keeps plugging and unplugging. Hello, Ankle Biter, what's up? The first day of school is tomorrow. I'm incredibly sorry to hear that. What grade are you in, Ankle? Unless you're in college. If you're in college, then have fun. if you're in primary or secondary schooling, then I don't know, sexually harass your teachers. 9th? Gotcha. What? That's a freshman, right? No. 9, 10, 11, 12? That is a freshman. Okay. What about kids in the mine? No one thinks about them. That's true. That's true. We could boost the coal economy by laxing child labor laws. I hadn't considered that. What? Feeling a single shred of sanity today? I'm feeling a lot better, Graham, because it's my weekend. And I have 3 days off today. I mean, after today, so I'm so ready I'm ready to sleep in. I'm ready to cook some fucking delicious food. I'm ready to goon, is what I'm saying. It's freshman, and no, I'm not harassing my teachers. Okay. Alright, but when you hit seniority, you're gonna be wishing. Alright, let's play the video. Let's actually play the video game now. Would, thank you, Will. Breaking news, I repeat, breaking news. What's up, Hunter? Did Baltimore kill somebody? The administration has been working day and night on the overwhelming amount of issues that we are facing in the country. The various government departments are sending me an avalanche of documents, all of which require my signature so they could start working on a new plan that has been decided on. Teachers are underpaid as it is? Alright, Rango, you got my ass. Well, give him a tip. Her, he. Give he or him a tip. Her, it. Had 2 coffee mugs in? Dang. I don't know about that one, man. The Mariners versus the Orioles starts tomorrow at 6:35 p.m. Well, where are they playing, Hunter? Please don't tell me they're playing in Seattle. Well, I don't care. I'm not going anywhere. Please don't tell me they're playing in Seattle. Hello, Junko. What's up? Welcome back. Your cat is hugging your foot while she's sleeping. Cute. Jerk your leg and toss him across the room. Not resting soon, probably, before I crash on my couch at the end of the day? Oh, I see, Graham. After I'd signed dozens of them, I closed my eyes to relax for a moment. Another long day of being a bald gentleman. Even though I couldn't wait to leave the palace for the day, Lucian had earlier told me that Chief Justice wanted to speak with me. We were meant in my office in 30 minutes. I waited for him, wondering what he wanted to talk about. Let's take a moment and relax. What's wrong with you? I'm dying. You're good, you're good. They can appreciate... And cats love to play. What are you talking about? Okay, gotcha. Let me... turn this down just a smidge, because that's honestly kind of melting my ears. Why so sinister? I got to work today, and I just felt like throwing a baby across the sales floor. Getting so many random videos on your feed, Graham. The YouTube algorithm seems to be really weird today because I opened up my YouTube Shorts and it said I had 32 viewers and I was about to puke. The game's at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Okay, none of those words ring true here in Seattle. Excellent. Wondering what he wanted to talk about, I stretched my arms and looked out the window. Thousands of shimmering lights in a whole sword skyline were mesmerizing. Suddenly, I heard a knock on the door. Sometimes it be like that. You get it, Ranko. The silly mood. Yeah, I guess so. Cat hater? No, I don't hate cats. It's just... The thing with cats is... It was Lucian. Good evening, sir, he says. Good evening, Lucian. Alright, so here's the thing about cats. What do you mean, Graham? Graham, do you watch YouTube Shorts? I'm sorry that I couldn't explain the situation to you in detail earlier, sir. The Chief Justice insisted on seeing you this evening. I do not know what he has to say, but it will probably be about the new Constitution. He will be coming shortly with Judge Gracie to the meeting. We shouldn't take them lightly. Okay, so... I think that... I'm gonna puke. Who do I think's gonna win? Seattle or Baltimore? Oh, I don't know how good the Mariners are. Oh, but I'm starting to get a feel about how good Baltimore is from how we've been talking, how we've been discussing it, Hunter. Oh. I'm gonna say it's gonna go into overtime, and then who knows? Lucy, it looks like he's judging me. Yeah, he is. Look at that. I think he wants to establish the CIA. Is this baseball? I'm not sure. He will be coming shortly to Judge Garacy to the meeting. I think he's here to test the waters, threatens to stop the reform. Maybe able to cooperate with them. I would like to cooperate them. I advise against that, sir. I do not trust the Chief Justice. We should. Interesting. I do trust Lucien. I think the justices don't like me, and I do think they want to oust me. They do have, like, a plan for, like, fascism, though, and I'm not really sure how I should go about it. But I don't think I want fascism. It is baseball, gotcha. Does my throat still hurt from last night? You bet it does, Life. My throat's been feeling really weird lately. Not sure what's going on. It's been like this for a week, but I don't feel sick. There were 3 knocks at the door. Lucien checked his watch. He looked rather worried. Olivia opened the door. Chief Justice Orso Hawker and Judge Heron Garacy entered the room. Good evening, Mr. President. It's great to see you. Evening. Welcome, Justice, and welcome, Chief Justice, to the presidential chambers. It's time for an orgy. My cat is warming your toes up very nicely. So ominous, for real. What do you mean by that? I don't know. I haven't been sucking any cocks or anything, so I don't know what's going on. Good to see you indeed. Orso gestured at the sofa in the office. May I? Of course the old bastard wants to sit. Please, sit down. Sit. We all took our seats on 2 opposite sofas and made ourselves comfortable. How were your first couple of months, Mr. President? I hope you're faring well. It's very busy, but I'm doing good. No need for the pleasantries. Get to the point. Left it on the server? What'd you leave on the server? Burnt cheese? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Very good. Have a wizard, Graham. You the bomb. You the real one, man. You the real one. So ominous. It is. The music can get really tense. It will only get busier, yet I think you're doing a good job so far. Considering all that's happening around us with the shootings near the palace and soldiers on our borders, he let out a deep sigh. It is a troubling time. We appreciate your concerns. So, you probably know why we're here. I don't. At all, actually. Just on my feed. Hello, little goober, what's up? There's a lot of goobers in my chat. There's a lot of gooners in my chat right now. Whoa. We know you're working on a new constitution. The Supreme Court does not approve of this. With all due respect, the constitution needs to be updated, sir. I'm sure you are well aware of the public demand and our circumstances. I'm gonna puke. Hang on. Give me a second. Like the Infinity Stones. You so get it. Is that so? I see that you're the one who is not aware of our actual circumstances. You want to make a weaker constitution in the midst of the problems from both inside and outside. Even if your proposal passes the Assembly, I will make sure it will not pass the Supreme Court. That much is clear. You haven't even seen the proposal yet, Mr. Hawker. Isn't it too soon to be against it? Come on, Mr. Hawker, we can figure something out. We can. If you decide to give us a listen. Mr. President, you seem to be only partially informed about the current situation. Please let us explain the reasons of our stance. Yeah, let's hear it. We are protecting the Constitution because it works, Mr. President. It is efficient and it gives you the authority to lead the nation with swift decision-making. You're gonna make your dog and cat and the winner gets to be your favorite? Oh, shit. You're gonna make your dog fight your cat? Dude, you got auto-corrected, Lamau. Swordland has more important problems and threats that we should face right now instead of nitpicking about some paragraphs of the Constitution. We have a potential war within our borders. Orso signaled Heron with his hand to let him speak instead. Mr. President, I know that you are a busy man, so I will make this quick. You're gonna make them brawl? A brawl is surely brewing. We all know that Sordish security forces found stashes of Rumburgian weaponry in the hideouts of bloodish separatists. KA-74s are roaming inside Swordland at this very moment. This is so sad. I'm pretty sure... What kind of dog do you have, Ankle? As much as Rumberg poses a direct threat, now it's clear that they're also intervening in our country and weaponizing, sorry, I don't know why I read that like that, our minorities against us. It's not unprecedented to think that the Bloods will start their terror again with their new toys. Not to mention the fights that broke out between the left and right wing after the shooting at Bernard's Circus. Communists are rising with the support of the United Contania. The chaos is imminent for Swordland. And sadly, we don't see the administration taking the necessary precautions. You said you will not focus on the military during your term. Under current circumstances, that cannot be tolerated at any cost. Yeah, we cannot make... I don't think we can make a deal with this guy. You have a tiny chihuahua? Okay, well, if you said you had like a husky or something, I would have been like, well, your dog's just gonna cream your cat, but... No, yeah. I think your chihuahua's gonna lose. Animal cruelty is a crime? Well, not if they consent. Sadly, we don't see the administration... Yeah. The court has no jurisdiction over these matters. We're taking necessary steps. I did promise that with the circumstances. Tolerate. You should be more careful. Mr. Hawker, the court has no jurisdiction over these matters. What? Aren't we all part of this state, Mr. President? We are all responsible if Swordland fails to overcome these threats. But regardless of that, are you also aware that the armed bloodish separatists have direct connections with the Workers' Party of Bloodia? They claim otherwise. The Workers' Party is a democratic party, unlike the militias. They are not the same. I mean, they are all Bloods. Everybody knows that. They claim otherwise. They may claim they have no ties with the separatists, but most of their members used to be part of them before they formed the Workers' Party of Bloodia. How about the name, Mr. President? Is it not the Workers' Party? It's not the Workers' Party of Swordland, is it? As far as I'm aware, there is no nation called Bloodia around here. What is this all about? Get their asses, Lucy, and shoot them in the brain. How's my attention span? Shot. A little shot right now. The Chihuahua's gonna win for sure? No way. Not against a cat. Well, maybe. I don't know. How big is your cat, Ankle? No. Really? The only reason they're not in the assembly is because of the electoral threshold. They've gotten quite big. They are clearly getting outside help, and their connections to the paramilitary Bloodish force cannot be denied. And all of a sudden, the reformists are trying to decrease the electoral threshold so that the Bloodish separatists can be legitimized in the assembly to achieve their aims of independence. I think we need to shoot these old men. They got demons in them. I mean, they get aggressive, but... I mean, don't dog teeth fall out at the first sign of trouble? Full-size cat and my dog is like half her size? Okay. We're talking about like a tiger and like a mouse. Well, maybe the mouse would win. You think that's Mr. Richter's intention? I suspect his intentions are grander. But I wish the only issue were the Bloodish terrorists in Rumberg. The reformists suggest changes would also bring the communists, who are backed by United Contania, into the assembly. Do you see the pattern yet? You're saying the reformists are working for foreign powers? Haven't you been briefed by your security team? Maybe you should suspect them as well. We should take the necessary measures against communist and Bloodish plots, as well as increasing our military budget against a possible conflict with Rumberg. And of course, not fall into the traps of the reformists by listening to their demands. They are clearly plotting to weaken the president and our whole administration in order to exploit the situation. Leave no witnesses. Okay, Ankle Biter, but what if you fought both your dog and your cat? Your dog's missing 4 teeth? Alright. I'm gonna headbutt your cat to death? First cat I had died, named him Garf because he was fat and orange. Did you also feed him lasagna until he died, Graham? Is that what happened? Which brings us to some very important information that we have. It's definitely something you need to hear, and it can change absolutely everything. Oh, with all due respect, Mr. President, I think this is getting slightly ridiculous. You're right, I don't think anything's gonna come out of this meeting. I'm with Lucian. So you don't want to hear about the information that I have? There is no need, Mr. Hawker. This meeting is over. Please step out of my office. Suit yourself, Mr. President. Play into the hands of Swordland's enemies. There will be... Mr. President clearly doesn't want to talk to us. Let's just give him some room before he disrespects the judiciary further. You are right. Orso and Heron both stood up from their seats. Please excuse us, Mr. President. Sorry to have taken your valuable time. Take care, gentlemen. They both left the room. That was not good. They clearly tried to threaten you. We need to take care of them. Orso will be doing whatever it takes to damage you. We need to be careful. There are still many old guard sympathizers in our party. We can't let them divide our party, and he will definitely try. He was too old. He fought with another cat and died. Jesus, Graham. Skill issue. I bet he hated Mondays. Yeah, died on a Monday. Just a bunch of words. That's all it really is, Rango. That's all it really is, buddy. Probably 7 at a time. What a badass. After a short evaluation of the situation on our hands, Lucian left me in the presidential office. It was obvious that the old guards would be my main rivals in the near future. Yeah, we'll see about that. Next fucking chapter. Let's get threatened by a bunch of old conspiracy theorists in charge of all of the judiciary, and then move on to the next chapter. Never mind. It's just the next day. Oh my god, 10 news articles? No foreign information, though, which is fascinating. Red Youth rises, warning bells for Swordland. We'd love to see it. School poisoning in Rebel. That's very funny. Arrested the principal of a high school in Rebel in Southern Bergia, where 12 students died after eating a free meal laced with pesticide. Skill issue. I would have tanked it. If you want to hear how my dog died. Did you kill him, Graham? Did you back over your dog? When I used to live in Texas, my neighbors would be doing that shit all the time. They're like the average age in the old neighborhood where I grew up was like above 50, and they were always backing over their pets. Yo, quit winking at me before I act up, buddy. The teachers are rebellious. They're poisoning their students. It looks like we're sorting our government budget salad. I have four ticks, so. Workers' unions put pressure for promised benefits. Your mom. United in protest. Less than CPS gather in Narbel. Interesting. Time for women to stand up. No way. Not if we're gonna be conservative. Questioning Solist education. And Grace nations unite to counter ideological influences. Forge parallel financial order. Really? With Grace? Yeah, okay. They did. Interesting. Rumberg and Rizia. Soradis, Narbrook, the Holy Kingdom of Alrikar. That's a lot of countries. Among the key initiatives announced is the establishment of a joint development bank to finance infrastructure projects. Okay. Race is consolidating. Blames Vogsland for the missing fishing vessel. Emerges as a buffer zone. And Raqqa emerges as a buffer zone and global trade power. The Federation of the Anrakan Islands. Can I... That's these guys? Hang on, let me take a look at the globe. No, that's Kairut. I don't know where the Anrakan Islands are. There's the Antician Isles. Sea of Nemdi's nuts. There's Soradis. Okay, something like that. Diplomatic mission's still happening. Alright. Let's take a look at some reports. First in Boring, who has a CPS mayor. Calm down, bud. Hello, Yoshi, what's up? God damn, you cute AF, FR, no cap on God. What's up? Going pretty good, man. Going pretty good. We're trying not to crash the economy of my country, but the economy is looking a little unstable right now. I'm not hopeful on my economics right at this current moment. Yeah, we've got major downturn. Oh no. Maybe the tourists will give us an injection. One of your neighbors kept on getting dog. It was annoying. Dang. The teachers are being naughty. They need to be punished. They're poisoning the kids. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean, sly smirk? Your dog died because of a snake bite, and you won't believe what his name was. Was it snake bite? Probably fought overnight as well. Jesus. Your mom just won't stop winking. Can't blame it. It's because my hair keeps getting in my face. I can't do anything about it. I got all this silly hair. Get those kids in the mines for real. No need to kill them. Just put them in, make them go work for Pizza Hut or something. Communist books have been burned and boring. This is so sad. Me when I can't read. Young swords and NFP flags burn. We'd love to see it. Sarna has bloodish resistance in the sanctuary cities. They're blowing us up. Narbel reports lack of hospitals. Narbel is just a mess right now. I'm not too worried about it. Leshaven, recession hits farmers. Good. Farmers are requesting additional funds from the government to survive this year. No. No. Legislative debate on the repeal of the EPA. Oh, shit. The GNA was the stage of contentions debate today over the proposed repeal of the Energy Protection Act of 32. Arguments both for and against the repeal were put forward, with Richter and the PFJP and the USP reformist wing, Clavin, leading the faction advocating for repeal. They argued that such a move would foster economic growth and increase foreign investment. However, the United Swords and the National Fronts, under the leadership of Tory and Kibner, respectively, defended the act vehemently. Tory is head of the USP of the conservative wing, citing the need for Swordsland protected strategic investment. The EPA, instituted by Saul and the National Autarky Plan, to safeguard Sordish energy. Let's see, the main provision was the limitation on foreign ownership of critical energy companies, prohibiting foreign nations from owning more than 10% of any corporation categorized as national security sensitive. I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. 10%. In 49, underwent an amendment during the tenure of Alfonso, increasing the limit to foreign ownership in national security corporations to 20%. Okay. Wait, I'm probably not gonna touch that at all, because we have an economic policy of nationalization. I should go bald? Somebody told me at work. Somebody told me that at work the other day. I was like, what? Your mother only ever told you of the death when you were a teenager? That's about it. Yeah, as far as, like, dead pets go, I think I've only so far had... I think when I was younger, my parents got a couple of puppies, and then one of the puppies ran out onto the highway and then got creamed. When do I stream? Every day at either 5 o'clock or 8 o'clock. Sometimes 9 o'clock, but it's a late night. Residents of the president... We're having a barbecue with our boy! Our stupid, shitty little teenage boy. We're gonna have a barbecue with him. It was a Saturday afternoon, my first break from work in what felt like years. The weather couldn't have been more perfect. Trying to keep my mind off the upheaval sparked by the circus assassination, I lit the backyard grill. Why is our president a griller? Monica and Diana were out shopping for craft supplies, and I'd given the staff the day off. It was just myself and Frank. I wasn't sure how he felt about me at the moment, but I did know how he felt about the barbecued ribs. I'm gonna puke. Excuse me. Your dog died a month ago? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Ranko. How did he die? It better be funny. It's just myself and Frank at home. I wasn't sure how he felt about me in the moment, but I did know how he felt about barbecued ribs. Our cook had left some marinating in the refrigerator. Sure enough, as soon as Frank glimpsed the grill and meat, he stepped outside to join me. Gonna spend some quality time with your old man, have you? Sure, if you can spare a few minutes out of your busy schedule. Children who talk back to their fathers don't get dinner, fan these flames? Damn. Look, son, I'm preoccupied with matters of national court. Sorry, I know I haven't been around very often lately, but I'm happy to see you now. We're a family, man. We're a family, man. We can apologize to our kid. We're not a bitch baby. Just remember there was a small chick that died right after I got one on the first day. Like, okay, when you say small chick, you're talking about the bird, right, Graham? You're not talking about a human being? She died from old age 15 years ago. Nothing funny there? Well... dying from being old is kind of funny. In a way. I mean, it's good, I guess. If you're gonna die. That's usually seen as one of the more appropriate deaths. Ways to die. Never got pets ever since. They're real expensive. They are, dude. It's okay. I know you got the most stressful job in the country and you gotta feed your family on top of it all. Who is this kid? We both chuckled. I turned to tend the fire. Here, let me try. He grabbed the fan and started quickly waving it over the coals. The fire roared to life. He turned to look at me with a grin on his face as if he was expecting praise. Not bad, son. Not bad. Good job. Good job, kiddo. We used to have a 22-year-old dog. I don't know how she lived that long. What's the average lifespan of a dog? Of like a pet dog, not like a stray. Thank you, sir. It's in our utmost interest to fulfill our duties with precision. The grilling shall commence at exactly 1 minute and 32 seconds. That was a spot-on impersonation of Lucian. We looked at each other for a second, then burst out laughing. I realized my throat was parched. There was a 6-pack of beer in the kitchen. Get up and grab a beer. I got up, grabbed myself a beer, and returned to the grill. I opened it, sat down, and gazed out the city skyline with my son. For a moment, my thoughts flashed back to my childhood and my relationship with my own father. My father was a hard-working man and always had our best interest in mind, or at least, that's what he always said. But he had a temper and would lash out at my mother in fights I could hear from my bedroom. By the time I was Frank's age, we seldom spoke. Of course you mean birds? Glad to hear it. Now that I was the president, I was facing more stress than my father ever had. I would have to work hard not to take my frustrations out on my family. I should be abusing my family. City Skylines reference? For real. Dad, can I ask you something? We're family, kiddo. You can ask me anything. So sad. It's just, I feel like that there's so much you've been hiding from me about your past, about what's going on right now. Like at dinner that night after the ball, you told me everything was under control, but it wasn't. I know what happened in the 20s. We learned all about it in school. Now with the protests and the riots, is it gonna be the same thing? Dad, is there gonna be a civil war in Swordland? I hope not. Well, I certainly hope not. He let out a sigh. But what was it like back then? Uncle Peter said the two of you went through a lot. I'm not a kid anymore, you can tell me. Before I could gather my thoughts, the familiar images started flashing before my eyes. Images of soldiers advancing towards me and my friends, weapons drawn. Of people I knew, friends and neighbors, being dragged through streets and murdered in alleyways. The shock and grief in the faces of fathers, mothers, and orphaned children. Those were dark times, kiddo. They're teaching the kids how to smoke tough. Those bastards. Seems like it. But you're nearly a grown man. Let's talk about it. Frank leaned forward in his chair, his eyes wide. Let's tell Frank about the damn coup. It was time to tell him about the coup of 27. I was barely older than you are now, studying law at the Whole Sword State University. I was a freshman, excited and young. I just left the classroom to go back home as I heard the sound of multiple vehicles approaching the campus gates. As they got closer, I realized they were military camouflage trucks and tanks, carrying hundreds of soldiers. Keep them ignorant? Your cat tried eating your arm? Well, bite back. Ankle biter? You're an ankle biter. Bite his ankles. Why the long face? I hate my kids. What can I say? The same soldiers that were supposed to protect Swordland citizens pointed their guns at us. They immediately took control of the facilities. One of my friends asked what was going on and was arrested immediately. More people got angry and gathered in protest. Frank kept listening, a shock looked on his face. Tell him that you ran for your life like a coward. Oh yeah. Seeing the crowd gathering, I knew something was going to happen, something bad. I decided that it was impossible to go against armed men and ran away from the scene. Ran away like a bitch. We must keep the children dumb so they don't know they're being used for manual labor. The kids, but that's the thing, ankle biter, the kids want to go in the mines. No matter how stupid they are, or smart they are, or whatever it is. Ran away from my friends, who were getting arrested and shot to save my own dear life like a coward. Anyone would do the same. No one could sleep that night because of gunshots and the sounds of boots. I can't forget the screams to this day. Frank leaned back in his chair, his shoulders slumped heavily. Let's keep talking about the Civil War. We want to break this kid's mentality. Bye-bye, Rango. Whoa, you hate on you hate our kids? That's wild. That's right. It was right after I met your dear mother. We both joined the same human rights group to push for change after the coup of 27, but after the next year, the state of Swordland deteriorated. People started picking sides, and I tried to stay away as much as I could. The clash between Lutheran and Rickard. Then one night it happened. Two different factions in the army, one of them led by Maximus General Ludrain, and the other by Socialist General Ricard, started fighting against each other. It was a bloodbath, nowhere was safe. Frank shifted in his seat, visibly uncomfortable. People organized protests either for or against Ricard. I heard about the clashes the next day. Many of my friends were shot or arrested. I isolated myself for months. But that's enough for today. Okay, I'm sorry. I should have asked you about it. I know I don't understand how easy my life is sometimes. One more thing, though. I know that you managed to not take any sides. Do you mind if I ask why? Well, it's neither of these answers. I did it because, I'm a coward. I don't want to talk about it. You baby. Okay, I was just curious, that's all. Sorry for bombarding you with questions. I know I complain sometimes, but my problems are nothing compared to what you went through. What is happening? Why am I getting the oh, my kid talks to me spiel? It's a two straight guys conversation. This is my son, bro. What are you talking about? I tried losing weight this summer, but I gained weight because my big back can't handle not eating the most unhealthy foods ever. I usually just don't eat. I wouldn't recommend that. You should be pounding away as much food as possible, to be honest with you. I'm here to listen to them no matter what they are, kiddo. You're damn right, your generation will never understand. So cool. Before Frank could say anything else, I heard the front door unlock. Diana and Monica's voices and the sounds of rustling shopping bags filled the house. Alright, I'll be upstairs until dinner. Frank went in and dashed upstairs. He took a long sip from my beer, looking at the city, or I took a long sip from my beer, looking at the city, and now the setting set. I hope that talking to Frank about my past had been the right decision. Part of me felt as if some sort of burden had been lifted. But I had the same nightmares again that night. Thank God that's over. Please, please, let's play the video game. The Green Act, a misdirected effort. Your mom, attacker opened fire on protesters, 17 dead, and with sword. During a protest march organized by the CPS against the murder of Circus, the attacker used a military-grade machine gun dated 29. The attacker killed himself right after shooting 25 people, killing 16. Damn, brother. Green, a threat to growth. Gasm and turmoil, a leadership crisis. Rizian Oil and Gas expresses interest in Gasm. FC Gelsword, FC Enrica Derby postponed due to protest. No, not the horses! Excuse me. How's my Uma Musume gonna get out there and how am I gonna listen to Uma Pyoy? Who knows when I could just drop dead? That's true, Graham. The Imperative Green Bill awaits signature. Undemocratic elections of Swordland. Your mom, your mom, your mom. I have to look at the Green Bill before I sign anything. CSP's worker report under scrutiny. And Raqqa broadens its economic horizons. Fuck you, Enraqqa. Is that what's on the bill? There's nothing on the bill. Oh fuck, we're going to Narbel, never mind. Oh shit. Looks like diplomatic meetings are moving forward. Rizia advocates for an energy partnership. The Rizian Oil and Gas, ROG, has extended a co-investment proposal for Swordland's ambitious Gasm energy venture. King Romus emphasized the bilateral benefits of such a cooperation and its potentials in bolstering the region's energy security. He also stressed that this collaborative venture could form the bedrock of a stronger economic alliance, further binding our nations. Your mom, dude. We're not allying with Rizia. They're part of Grace. Do I use your mom as an answer at my job? If I keep saying it, eventually I'm gonna start saying that shit to customers. Hello! Welcome to Whole Foods. Your mom. ATO pledges financial and military aid to Agnolia. Fuck you. Fuck you, fuck you, ATO. ATO, bitch. Agnolia is... Oh, no. We definitely... We might not make a deal with them. It might just be Wezhek. The Arcasian Treaty... Yeah. We might be on Volksland's side. The economy is in danger, dude. We're redlining. I'm gonna have to make this deal with Narbel. We'll see. I'm not looking for a buyout right now, but I do have 4 ticks, so we might be able to buy out the Energy Corporation ourselves. Prisoners right in Antel Rock Prison. Killed by a bloodish political... Whoa, when a warden was killed by a bloodish political prisoner. 4 guards and 21 prisoners dead, 134 people are injured. Morna is having a low industrial output. Me when my economy crashes. I'm having low industrial output. Convince me why you deserve my follow. I'm peeing my pants right now. Morna industrial output. The mayor of Morna has reported that their industrial output numbers this year are 12% lower than last year. They're requesting additional support to improve their industrial capacity, including machinery and personnel. With the construction of several new factories, the mayor stated his belief that an economic upturn in the city is still possible if the government investments succeed. Looks like that was convincing enough, huh, life? According to the current projections, Morna is set to lose an additional 2% of industrial output. Your mom, dude. Your mom. Whole sword. We're taking a look at the L1 report. The Loser 1 Railway has reported that the project has been progressing well. Already started laying groundwork. We'd love to see it. The USP report on the reforms. Many members of the USP, led by Calvin, Clavin and the reformist wing of the party clarified their demands from the government in the party congress. For the upcoming constitutional reform, Clavin stated that without ministry reform, they won't be able to stand behind the new reform package. Ministry reform. I haven't gotten to sat down with the document yet, but once it does, then we'll be able, everything shall become clear. It was very convincing. You're gonna go to sleep, ankle biter? Have a good night. Be sure to kick your cat across the room so you can get up. You like some good reading? I'm a reader. What can I say? I like to read. I was traveling to the snow-covered city of Narbel in the Nargis region for the Rural Development Forum organized by the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education. Oh, right, we have to make an investment. Our promise was to focus on healthcare this term. It's probably not a good pick, to be honest with you, seeing as how the economy probably would have been a better choice. The mountainous city was infamously one of Swordland's poorest. It had a gritty edge and its people were hardy and wary. Even after the discovery of gas and oil in the area, years of neglect by the central government were apparent on the buildings and the general infrastructure. The natural resources were now under control of Gasm, which elevated the corporation to a place of power. My task in this forum was mainly symbolic. Fake smiles and handshakes with oil barons, meeting with local politicians, but most importantly of all, making sure that Narbel did not feel like it was forgotten by the government. The scenery so far, however, was a reflection of Narbel's neglect. The main road to the city were not not maintained well. There were many bumps and empty, discolored spots in the asphalt. Navigating and swerving to avoid the inconveniences, our motorcade finally started nearing the city. God. This is a city called Lards! As my discomfort from the bumpy ride was apparent to him, Sergei rolled down the partition window. Should you follow me on Twitch? Well, I don't usually pee over there, though. I usually just pee on TikTok. Up to you, though. We will be arriving at Hotel West in a few minutes, sir. Thank you for letting me know. Anytime, it is my duty. After a moment, Sergei started to smile under his mustache. How's life, Sergei? Sir, I just wanted to say it's been great these last 2 months. Really, we're in the economic danger zone. As you know, my wife Susan recently gave birth to our son, and now my daughter just started a very good high school in Holsor. Congratulations. That's great news, Sergei. I'm happy for you. Congratulations, buddy. I appreciate it, sir, truly. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to afford a good private school if she scored less in the entrance exam. But I shouldn't have made my insecurity get to me. Erica outsmarts me all the time. I'm very proud to have a daughter like her. I do not value insecurity in my employees, so that means she must have gotten her smarts from her mother. He let out a laugh. She must have. My daughter looks up to the First Lady for inspiration. Not only my daughter, sir. She's an inspiration for almost all women in the country. But at the same time, it must be hard for the First Lady as well. All this attention, adjusting to this new high-profile life, and a husband that has a great responsibility. It's hard for both. It is hard for her. It must be, sir. We sometimes forget the important people in life between our responsibility and the rush. You know, those we care for. I agree. Sergei continued after a moment of silence. Have I told you, sir? We're naming my son George. The doctor said he is very healthy, and thankfully so is my wife. That's good. I hope the hospital had good service. Normally, we would have been treated in one of those suburban hospitals, but thanks to the special coverage of the presidential staff, we were transferred to Emerald State. Oh! Half-Life Elf is a good name. Leaf. Life. Half-Life Elf. Life if. Dang, you're all about life, huh? Thinking about what to say? Are you nervous? Do I make you nervous, Graham? Emerald State is a great hospital, I think. We need to increase the quality of services for all, dude. That sounds like a tough issue to solve, Sergei sighed. I've already started thinking about the university education, especially Erica. I want to send her to a good private school, but with the current state of the economy, it's going to be hard for us. I'm not giving him any cash. We'll fix the economy one way or the other. One way or another. If anyone can, that's you, Mr. President. The car hit a major pothole in the bump which lifted us up in our seats for a second. Are you okay, Sergei? Yes, sir. I hope the car is fine, too. The motorcade began approaching the hotel. The Hotel West was supposedly the best hotel in Narbel. That's not saying much. The large 25-story main building was undoubtedly one of the taller and more expensive buildings in the city. It towered over the nearby slums and had been a target for protests when it was first built. You don't rush, do you drag, Graham? Just can't figure out a name, so I just use my TikTok name just longer. Yeah. A crowd gathered in front of the hotel with the welcoming committee at its center. As we approached the red carpeted entrance, I could see the mayor of Narbel and his top aides. Sergei got out the car and opened the door. He bowed his head respectfully and gestured towards the entrance. See you later, Sergei. Thank you, sir. Likewise. As soon as I left the vehicle, the fresh air of Narbel filled my lungs. Almost immediately, everyone present in the crowd flocked over to me with an excessive display of courtesy, smiles, and handshakes while I donned the mask of a politician. A mask that I was very used to. Buddy, he's bald! He's bald! Vest Sword, Young Sword suspected of terror attack, and Vest Sword, 17 people were killed. Damn, everybody's just dying. Protests wind down in Whole Sword, you think so? We'll see about that. Education, privatization, proven successful. Your mom, dude, that's not gonna happen. Soul needs to answer for his crimes. Shocking misogynist rally. That's us. Labor union rights in March. PFJP reports on the reform. Richter recently outlined their demands for the reform package. He declared that without the implementation of term limits and limited decrees, it would be very difficult for him and his party to stand behind the reform package. Briefing on the current welfare situation. The City Hall in Narbel. Oh boy. So I think, I'm not sure if we're actually going to make like a medical investment into the city at this stage. I think that happens when we start handing out budgets. I think we'll see how it goes though. I arrived at the meeting room for a talk with Sierra and Pascal before beginning. I took a moment to appreciate the view from the balcony. The mountains of Narbel were completely covered with snow. While I was mesmerized by the scenery, Pascal walked up to me. My Minister of Health was, ironically, somewhat portly, having gained a few pounds since his breakthrough as a best-selling writer, but his authority on social affairs could not be questioned. Such a spectacular view. Walda. Chiara? Chiara? The Ministry of Education joined us on the balcony dressed in a sky blue pantsuit. Her preference for trousers over dresses made her the subject of much palace gossip, but it didn't seem to bother her in the slightest. Spectacular indeed, but if you look on the opposite direction, you'll see that Saul's decades of neglect did to the city. Most of the people living in Narbel are workers, farmers, and their wives and children. They're breaking their backs for close to no pay, all thanks to greedy corporations. My intention is to help the working class. I'm glad we see eye to eye on that issue. If you look past the view, you can see the real problems. Real problems like poverty. Pascal nodded gravely. This was the subject he knew quite a bit about himself. His best-known books were about the plight of Swordland's less fortunate, drawing from his own past growing up in squalor. Well put, Miss Walda. I don't need to tell you about my own experiences with poverty. I'm sure you have similar stories. Am I right, Mr. President? Are you bald-bolding? Am I bald-bolding right now? Well, in-game I am. Not sure about in real life. I could be. We've all gone through difficult times. True, but some lives are more difficult than others, like ours was, and still is for hundreds of thousands in Swordland. You don't have to have been born poor to sympathize with the plight of the impoverished, much as you don't have to have been born a woman to recognize Swordland's need for parity among the sexes. Parity among the sexes shouldn't be our first priority. Look at how many high-ranking female politicians our country has. Appearances can be deceiving, Pascal. Her voice sounded bitter. Think about how Lelius got to her current position. I don't necessarily believe the rumors about her and Saul, but she never could have risen so high if she didn't parrot his cause. Tory is an accident that the first female assembly speaker is such a staunch conservative. And then there was Alphonse's habit of promoting women to prominent positions to give Swordland a progressive sheen while accomplishing nothing in reality. While women in places like Narbel are denied any opportunity to advance, the government can use a handful of female politicians from wealthy families, myself included, to pretend their only obstacle to success is their own lack of initiative. Meanwhile, those of us who don't use our clout to help powerful men stay in power are denigrated as angry spinsters. I ask you, Mr. President, does anyone care that your strategist Gallade doesn't have a wife? I've been wondering about that, actually. Interesting. You're gonna go to sleep now? Gotcha, Half-Life. Thanks for popping in, man. Have a good night. Alright, Yara, you made your point. Fucking punch her in the mouth. As I was saying, isn't it about time Whole Sword addressed this country's real issues? Rather than bowing to the wishes of the hawks and the fearmongers and the establishment and diverting yet more resources to the military and law enforcement. Our welfare, healthcare, and education systems have been decaying since the recession. Swordland's poor communities are losing hope. Hopelessness and a lack of opportunities can drive people to extreme solutions. We're seeing increased crime, domestic violence, and yes, rising inequality between men and women. Let's see. We need to engage holistically. If we could stop the recession, create jobs, and growth. The capital must be prioritized towards the resources that matter the most. Swordland needs more schools full of children instead of barracks full of soldiers, more hospitals instead of police stations. It is obvious that the military has been overfunded for a long time, and you have promised to change this trend. There is another subject I want to mention. I have been working on improving the rights of workers in our country, and I proposed a draft bill that is currently being reviewed by our party. You'll love to see it, don't we, folks? Mr. Clavin has already backed me and given his support. Swordland has fallen behind most countries on this subject, and it is my responsibility to ensure this is not the case. I agree. We need to improve the standards for our workers. Exactly. Swordland must provide for its own people to move forward. It also is a matter of life and death. Every decade, we hear of some horrific accident due to employers' disregard for their workers' safety. So, will you back the bill when it arrives at your desk, Mr. President? I would be very interested in supporting it once it's finished. To make a decision, I would need to evaluate the contents in detail. I would like to support it. What are you talking about? I'm relieved to hear that. He smiled. It's getting a little cold out here. Shall we continue our discussion indoors? We headed back inside. The meeting room was already prepared for state businesses. Small gifts for each of us had been placed on the table by municipality. We took our seats. Chilly out there in Narbel. Ooh, up in the mountains. Brr. The meeting room was already oh, yeah. Read all that. Oh, my spine. Let's start with the health overview. That is actually what I'm out here for. We can talk to Chiara. As you wish, Mr. President. Swordland has a free healthcare system, except for a few private hospitals operating under it. Most of the populace receives adequate treatment. Health issues primarily appear in rural areas due to a lack of quality services. I am doing my best to ensure the citizens of all ages receive the best healthcare they can. I also personally want to solve our high infant and maternal mortality problems. How many doctors and nurses are employed? We have 31,000 doctors and 73,000 nurses. Man, this guy's got the numbers off the top of his head. Working for the Ministry of Health, this is a high number. What I think is, I don't want to be rude, but out of those numbers, how many are in urban and in rural areas? Let's not interrupt each other. That's not a problem. The number of doctors per 10,000 citizens is far lower in rural areas compared to urban areas. In other words, rural citizens with medical emergencies have to wait an embarrassingly long time before they're treated. Did I stretch today? I don't stretch any day of the week, Graham. That's why my body is falling to pieces. I need to stretch more, though. How many hospital beds per 10,000 citizens? There are 10 beds per 10,000 citizens. Compared to most of our neighbors, this is a very good number. Our amount of beds is higher than the countries of Agnolia and Wayland, but we obviously can't match Lesbia and Volksland. Agnolia and Wayland should hardly be used as a standard, but it is good to know we aren't in a massive health crisis yet. How about the life expectancy and mortality rates? Our life expectancy is 65. That's not too bad for like a country that's like just pulled itself out of recession. The infant mortality rate is a worrying 121 per 1,000 births. That one's pretty bad. While our maternal mortality is 5 per 1,000. That's also not too good. I assure you that we are doing everything we can to save mothers and their newborns. Those numbers are saddening indeed. I agree. We should definitely help them. We are working very hard on improving the quality of services. Thank you, Pascal. Your in-depth briefing is much appreciated. I want to hear about our education system. With pleasure. Sordish education is free, but we have a very outdated system that I want to reform. The other important issue is the lack of access to education in rural areas, especially for young girls. Your administration has the power to solve both problems. The highest priority is to get enough funding to be able to build schools in rural areas while I cleanse our educational system of its nationalistic indoctrination and sexist teachings. What's the literacy rate? Literacy rate in Swordland is 80%. This is a very good indicator for future growth, but it needs to be increased. It's also far lower among girls than boys. 80% isn't that bad. Damn. Wow. For like an industrialized country, I guess. I mean, better. Honest to God, I think it's better than America right now. I think America's literacy rate is like 74% or some shit like that. I think yeah. I think 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 Americans just is not literate at all. If I remember correctly, the most illiterate areas are Bergia and Agenland. That is correct, although Leshaven skews the statistics for the Nargis region, which also have a vast number of illiterate citizens. This underlines my point about the lack of access to education. How many students and teachers do we have? Currently, there are about 5 million students, 3 million in primary education, 1 million in secondary, and 1 million in tertiary. There are 155,000 teachers. Swordland is full of young and bright minds. We should be striving to make education available for all. Our country is indeed full of potential. I think there needs to be a change in what is being taught. We should help children to ask questions and educate themselves. Tell me about the differences between urban and rural. Urban areas have 3 times the number of schools per 10,000 people compared to rural areas. Rural areas also suffer from a lack of teachers. That's not a very good ratio. The situation is worse than expected. This is one of the most important problems we face, if not the most important problem. A huge part of the population is forgotten in terms of welfare. Thank you, Kiara. I'll fill in the blanks from here. I believe that is everything. We just talked about it. Fuck. Kiara stood up and moved towards the window. She took a deep breath. I hope both of you are preparing your reform plans for improvement. She ignored my statement. Look at this impoverished city. The streets full of potholes, the hospital barely functioning, the school half open. This is not just about Saul or even Alfonso failing. This decay in Swordland's forgotten regions has been going on for many decades due to structural corruption, which is fueled by capitalism. Pascal, thoughts? We're here to change that trend and provide for the people. That remains to be seen. I'm working on a new education system, and your support would be welcome. Kiara sat back down and sighed. One way or another, we need to change in Swordland. Greed and unchecked capitalism will not magically provide for the people. What are you working towards, Pascal? Pascal, what's up, dude? I personally want to improve the low quality of healthcare in the rural areas, so I created draft plans to increase the salary of doctors and to upgrade the equipment to the hospitals. I can do more than an increased budget. Additionally, a privatization plan to promote private investments in the healthcare system could allocate extra funds. That's not going to happen. I promised that our health systems were to improve in our term. I fully support you, Pascal. Yeah, we're definitely that was our promise on the campaign trail, so that we're going to keep that. This is one of the reasons I'm optimistic about the upcoming budget debates. With enough funds, we can build new hospitals and expand the quality of our services. I do hope to create competition and increase the quality of healthcare with the privatization effort. That's not going to happen. But you must realize that privatizing our healthcare system would increase the price of treatment and make access worse for the average citizen. Besides, it wouldn't fit into the planned economy President Rain has decided to promote. Alright, Kiara, what's the plan then? My plan requires an increase in the government budget. I aim to solve the problems we highlighted in allocating money. By building schools in less fortunate rural areas and through fundamental changes in the education system, I will unlock the potential of all our children, boys and girls alike. Improving the situation in rural areas is indeed a good idea. Interesting, I thought our problem was with the quality of education in Swordland as a whole. Our statistics show the disparity between urban and rural education. We can either do something about it or wait until things get worse. Wouldn't a promotion of private education help create additional funds? Yeah, but at what cost? I'm not a supporter of the private sector in education. At the end of the day, they're focused on profit first. Our expectation from our government is that we understand and focus on the needs of the people. We're elected representatives of our people, we prioritize their needs. I appreciate your briefings and plans. We will reconvene at the budget meeting. Oh, it's time! When is the budget meeting, bro? I'm so unprepared for it. 4 ticks and cash is not enough. Did we cover all the necessary subjects? One more thing. I wish to raise my concerns about your scheduled meeting with GASM Chairman and former President, Mr. Alfonso. By negotiating with Alfonso and his company, you have an opportunity to secure better labor conditions for blue-collar GASM employees. This could triumph for all of Narbel. What is there to negotiate, Pascal? The stance for GASM workers are already at rock bottom. President Rain can and must demand better. Nevertheless, it's worth acknowledging the corporation's significant contribution to job creation in Narbel and other poverty-stricken regions. Persuading the chairman to make concessions might prove to be a formidable task. Of course I'll demand better from Alfonso. What good is job creation if the workers are treated poorly? Of course I'll demand better from Alfonso. I cover this topic extensively in one of my books. Confrontation, if not handled prudently, could exacerbate the challenges these workers face. The matter is close to my heart. I would personally be grateful if you're able to resolve the concerns raised by Katrina Horton and her fellow labor representatives. It would be difficult to imagine a CEO like Alfonso giving benefits to workers without him personally gaining from it. Your mom, dude, your mom. Grams busting bananas balls. Grams busting the banana balls. Greater energy security, we might find ourselves forced to collaborate with them. In this world, nothing is truly free. I wouldn't say anything. Gasm relies on us just as we rely on them. We can find a path of compromise. Gasm has profited from the labor of workers for far too long. It's time for them to give back. We shouldn't settle for anything less than a complete overhaul of the exploitive structures of Gasm and its fellow corporations have built. Thank you for your input, Kiara, but I will stress to President Rain how important it is that the door to dialogue remain open. Ideology should never get in the way of bringing about tangible, lasting change. I'm gonna puke. Excuse me. I'm skeptical about these discussions with Gasm will lead to anything meaningful. We've seen empty promises before. I'm encouraged by the willingness of Mr. Mangrim and Alfonso to meet with me. It's a step forward. We shall keep you no longer. Thank you both for the discussions. I do hope we won't repeat the same mistakes again and again. Have a good day, Mr. President. The ministers left and I prepared to leave for their official businesses in the city. The Gasm meeting was just one of the many events I was scheduled to attend over the next few days. As I made my way out, the weather was noticeably cold, but it didn't keep a group of USP supporters from coming out and cheering us in the streets. By looking at the citizens' attire, it was easy to understand that the current state of Narbel. Some people were wearing clothes a few sizes too large, some kids did not even have shoes, yet there was hope in their eyes. They were excited to see their president in their city. Alright, I'm going to take a quick break. I need to get a refill, and take the piss. I'll BRB. Okie doke, lads. It's another day. We're back from Narbel. We're back from the shithole of Narbel. Oh, Banana, did you do something with your hair? Oh yeah, Banana, did you get your hair cut? Ready for fall? Anyway, I'm gonna read the news. Preserving national sovereignty, the EPA stands for now. Your mom. Police clash with protesters in Dare. Of course they did. Why wouldn't they? Dare is not in the south of Swordland, I think. Dare is, right, in Bergia. Oh, Bergia, Bergia, Bergia. My beloved Bergia. Me when I see an immigrant. Shoot him. Lesbia? Let's see. Arcadia builds a military base in Lesbia. Fuck you, fuck you. President Walker visited Lesbia last week to engage in talks with Prime Minister Alvarez concerning the establishment of Arcadian military bases within Lesbia. Following the conclusion of the discussions, an agreement was reached between the two leaders regarding a significant military defense investment in Lesbia. As part of the agreement, a large military base will be constructed on Ravnos Island. The base will be equipped with Arcadian radar and anti-air systems for enhanced security. Additionally, Arcadia plans to deploy a dozen M3 ballistic missiles. The base is expected to accommodate approximately 200 strategic bombers and jet fighters, along with an estimated 20,000 Arcadian soldiers. Yeah, that's definitely to keep an eye on the CSP right there. Ravnos, I put a big ass air base right there. Krungo. Can't stop thinking about what I said earlier. What did I say, Banana? Here! Oh, where? Run it over. Hello, Kent. What's up, man? What's up? Let's see... Alright. The CSP. Leaders discussed Helluland and Halem Summit. At a pivotal meeting in Halem, CSP leaders gathered and addressed the intricate and historically charged issue of the Helluland sovereignty. The discussions revisited the Agnolian annexation of the island during the Volgsland Revolution in the 1920s, emphasizing the Alliance's commitment to addressing historical missteps and securing a future that respects the rights and aspirations of the island's inhabitants. The summit also highlighted the CSP's strategic ability to navigate an increasingly complex geopolitical environment. Shaped by the growing influences of the ATO, leaders stressed the critical importance of dialogue and cooperation to prevent further escalation in the delicate situation surrounding Helluland. Additionally, CSP confirmed that contingency plans are in place, ensuring that Volgsland, as a key member of the Alliance, would receive full support should the circumstances require it. The meeting concluded that collective affirmation of CSP's determination to uphold peace and stability. Leaders emphasized their intention to approach the Helluland issue with a diplomatic but firm stance, adjusting its historical complexities while applying necessary pressures to achieve a resolution that aligns with the Alliance's principles. Interesting. Don't worry about it, he's cracking jokes. I'm trying. I'm doing my best. Let me see. So here's Helluland. And I guess Agnolia took over it while Vogsland was doing a whole revolution. So, we'll see how it goes. Morbel? The Morbel mine. The coal mine has collapsed in Morbel. Emergency response teams were dispatched immediately due to the sheer size of the disaster. Additional manpower and supplies were requested from nearby cities. Initial investigation shows that an underground fire has started due to neglect in the working situations by Needham Mining Group. Current death toll at 82 and counting. We'd love to see it, don't we, folks? Repeal of the Energy Protection Act of 32 fails. Really? Put to a vote in the Assembly today, resulting in its defeat. 179 to 71. Damn. Get owned. Consequently, the Protection Act remains in force, maintaining the status quo of foreign ownership. We definitely don't want them repealing that. We definitely want constitutional reform, but we don't want them repealing our nationalization initiative, you know? What do you mean by busting his balls? I don't know, you're the one busting his balls, Graham. NFP on reforms. Kibner, leader of the NFP, has announced today that the NFP is completely against any threshold reform. He specifically emphasized that this would lead to unwanted elements entering the assembly and that he is outright against the change of the 10% threshold. So am I. I hate to side with the fascists, but we're doing it. Workers' rights bill nears completion. I'm excited for it. Clavin and Pascal is being prepared for the first review draft. Voices from the labor union showed strong signs of support. The people that form the backbone of Sordish economy will finally be fully protected by extensive laws, Horton said, receiving both cheers and boos. Estord has young Swords member found decapitated. Eat shit, buddy. Not my skill issue. Couldn't be me. I've ever told you the definition of insanity? Getting your balls busted? Labor strike at Gasm. Blue-collar workers at Gasm and Narbel have initiated a labor strike. This industrial action follows disagreements over wages, working conditions, and rights. The strike has resulted in a temporary disruption in Gasm's operations. The duration of the strike and potential impact on Narbel's local economy are currently uncertain. Negotiations between Gasm management and the striking workers is reportedly ongoing. Looks like we're meeting with Manger and Alfonso on Gasm. I hope I have enough money to nationalize Gasm. I think the first time I played, I was just out of cash. So this time I'm hoping for a little slided cash injection into the energy economy instead of going into a full-blown recession. I have no response, but I don't see the excitement on busting somebody else's balls. Really? Why me, though? Well. The CPS and the LUS strike against Gasm. In Narbel, the CPS and the LUS have organized a strike against Gasm. Prominent figures Horton and LUS Stoller of CPS have confirmed their participation. The impact of the strike on Gasm's operations and the wider political climate in Narbel remains to be seen. Well, it looks like we're gonna find out what happened. Put down this strike. After a series of intense meetings with Chiara and Pascal, I decided to take some much-needed time to recharge. I checked in with Lucien and Peter back at the capital. They were working hard to unite democratically leaning reformers for a crucial task of drafting a new constitution. Meanwhile, Manger had invited me to visit the Gasm headquarters in Narbel. It was situated in Ornabel, a neighborhood in the city outskirts. Next to it was the Damanoa Gas Reserves, a prominent natural gas source consisting of 4 large fields. As our motorcade made its way through the Ornabel district, I noted the neighborhood's state of disrepair. The roads were bumpy and marked by potholes, while the buildings surrounding us appeared run down and dilapidated. The community had apparently endured a prolonged period of neglect. We came to a halt at the entrance gates of the facility. A sizable mural depicting the Gasm logo had been painted on a nearby wall. How long am I going to stream tonight? Probably until 10 o'clock, so in about, 40 minutes. Adjacent to the mural, a group of individuals wearing blue work vests had assembled, holding what looked like protest signs. Sergei skillfully parked the car, bringing our journey to a smooth and elegant conclusion. He's the best driver in the country. Gus greeted us warmly as we stepped out of the vehicle. Good day, President Rain. Welcome to Gasm's Narbel operations. I trust Ministers Walda and Benawal didn't overwhelm me with their demands. I would be surprised if there are no demands or expectations here today. No demands from me, President Rain. I'm all about making deals and finding common ground. How's my afternoon? Pretty good so far. If there's one thing Manger stands for, it's win-win solutions. Mr. President, I've been brainstorming a little something, the Groony Rural Investment Plan. I reckon it's got the potential to breathe new life into our rural communities out in Groony. We could consider a few things. For starters, we could give the farming businesses a boost with some subsidies, or we could steer towards modernizing existing farms with machinery and tech. Or here's another thought. We could pour resources in developing crop breeds tailor-made for Groony conditions. If it works out, we could roll this out across Swordland. He kept talking as he guided me into Gasm building. Mr. President, I get the appeal that the green bill that's been making the rounds in the Assembly. But I'm telling you, if we put the brakes on that and funnel those funds into Groony's plan instead, we could make some real strides towards spooking any potential investors. I'd like to consider his proposal. I do like the technological advancement. But it's very Bill Gates coded, and that's not quite what I'm looking for. I'm intrigued by your vision. I'll seriously consider your proposal. I appreciate you hearing me out, Mr. President. I genuinely believe this plan could work wonders for our rural folks. Our talk was interrupted by a noise coming from outside the building. We looked out the nearest window. A sleek helicopter was cut through the sky, sunlight glinting off its polished surface as it descended towards us. On it was our next appointment, Edwald Alfonso. He sure does know how to make an entrance. The man loves his theatrics. Spectacle aside, before we sit down with him, there's one more assembly matter I wanted to raise. This workers' rights bill. Look, I'm all for giving hard-working folks what they deserve, but isn't it a bit hasty to push this while we're still stuck in a recession? This reminds me of Dead by Daylight. Indeed, Angel. Indeed it does. The way I see it, short-term wins might end up costing us big time in the long run. We gotta play it smart. We can't risk another economic blow. Mr. President, I'm glad you're thinking about the big picture. We've got to strike a balance to protecting our economy and our workers. Timing and approach are everything. Strong labor protections are the foundation of lasting growth. A secure worker is a productive one. Fair enough, but let's roll it out in stages. Rushing it could backfire. Please come this way. Ewald and I have some exciting news to share with you. Aside from the 2.5 mugs of coffee. I have faith that you won't leave us hanging. After your convincing arguments about the railway project, I was curious what else we could achieve. I haven't seen him since inauguration. He really pulled back in public life. I think he is fully focused on Gasm these days. His entire reputation is bound to this corporation now. Admittedly, I'm biased, but I do think Gasm is extraordinary. I have no ill will against Alfonso. Why should you? As you know, he and I go back a long time. He isn't the sellout some solists painted him to be. Shall we? He pushed open a door. We walked down yet another hallway, seemingly in the direction we'd just come from. Like a maze, isn't it? That's Canali architecture for you. The hallways were lined with doors, glass panels in them revealed workers in suits and ties, many of the foreign origin busy in their pristine offices. A stark contrast to the blue-collar workers outside, working with machinery, transportation, and maintenance. The whole complex feels very hands-on deck. I can tell an intricate operation when I see one. It took decades for Ewald and the workers, of course, to create an enterprise of such global competitive potential. And here's the elevator. Ewald ought to be up there already. There's a separate entrance for the helipad. We stepped into the elevator, Gus punched a code, and we began our ascent. Let's do this. The doors opened. Here we are, Ewald, my friend. Ewald Alfonso stood up from his chair. He had on a perfectly tailored suit that he wore as casually as pajamas. Gus, you old devil. It takes one to know one. As promised, I brought our guest of honor. President Rain. I hope you enjoyed seeing our facilities here. President Alfonso, it's nice to see what you've built from the inside. It's fine. Nothing compared to Gasm HQ and Wholesort, of course. Still, one of the standouts of the Maroon District. Please have a seat. Let's talk. We sat down. Some snacks and drinks were served. Multiple Gasm yearly financial reports were scattered on the table between us. President Rain, I am here because we have a great opportunity on our hands, a business arrangement that will benefit Gasm and Swordland alike. I also happen to believe that the current and former presidents of Swordland should stick together and share our experiences. Not everyone has been in our shoes, you know. This is indeed a business arrangement, Ewald. Let's focus on that. Of course, President Rain, business above all should drive this discussion. What the heck, Graham? You can't be saying that stuff. What the hecky? Exactly, gentlemen. Let's get down to the brass tacks, eh? As we discuss the future of Swordland, it is paramount that I comprehend your vision. The trajectory you set for this country will inevitably impact not just Gasm, but also Swordland's position on the global stage. I confess I've been following the news from the Maroon Palace closely since leaving office. Your decision to deviate from the market economy is, let's say, not what I would have chosen. And I am puzzled that your administration has so far ignored the wealth of opportunities provided by the West. Meanwhile, I've not heard any indication of your leanings regarding the Kingdom of Rizia's interest in investing in Gasm. I've yet to receive a comprehensive briefing on the matter. I prefer to maintain a careful approach and not make premature commitments. I respect your prudence, but let us not forget the fortune often favors the bold. Your concerns, Mr. President, remind me of that time when I was working with OMEC. We were bringing in foreign investment to revitalize local companies. There were protests, people who were scared of change, who thought we were selling out, but we weathered the backlash and stood by our own decisions. Years later, those same people saw the benefits, the jobs we created, the growth we spurred. Change is always met with resistance, but in the end, it's the results that matters. You can't say that. Got him off guard? What the hecky? I can't believe you've done this. We're not talking about a company, we're talking about an entire nation. The stakes are much higher. Your experience with OMEC is very valuable to us, Gus. We do need to stay the course and see our decisions through. It's true, OMEC was a great learning experience. A lot of sleepless nights, tough negotiations, and even a few broken friendships. But I'd do it all over again if it means seeing our country prosper. As Gus finished his point, we suddenly heard the faint wailing of sirens in the distance. He waited for the noise to fade before continuing. Back to the topic at hand. Ironic. Ironic. It seems we're at a crossroads with Gasm. The numbers tell a tale of struggle and potential. No need to sugarcoat it, Gus. Gasm is teetering on the edge of a cliff. Without significant restructuring, the firm risks plunging into insurmountable debt. My old friend Ewald reached out to me for assistance out of respect for our shared history and my small stake in the company. I couldn't refuse. This guy, these motherfuckers couldn't run a company if it bit him in the back of the ass, dude. What? You run a gas company and you're in like cliff-hanging debt? No way. It's Enron. We're Enroning. I've always believed in the power of networking. I'm sure you've heard of Rusty Montaro, chairman and CEO of Rizian Royal Gold. Rusty and I go way back, and he's done quite well for himself. But under Alfonso's government, I was able to broker a deal with King Rama's Taurus, thanks to my connection with Rusty. It was a win for all involved. Seems like an impressively powerful alliance you've formed. It was quite the feat, and not one without risk, but the potential reward for Swordland, I believe, are worth it. Thanks to Gus, Rizian's connections, investors from the kingdom are now interested in Gasm, a development that could steer us clear of the looming crisis. We've got an amazing opportunity here. The demand for gas is steadily increasing for both international partners and the Sordish state. All we have to do is ensure a consistent supply. The trouble is that right now some of our fields are operating at only half their capacity due to resource limitations. But we have significant potential for expansion, including two new fields that haven't been tapped. This motherfucker, dude. With the right amount of investment, we can expand resource extraction, effectively fulfilling rising demand and ensuring long-term stability and profitability. But that requires us to be willing to take risks and weather the storm. Now that's a legacy we're striving for, wouldn't you agree? I am intrigued by the untapped fields. Where are these new fields you keep talking about? With proper investment and development, we project extremely high returns in the first 5 years alone. How EP on the EP scale? 80.57? Damn. No idea what that means. The sound of sirens briefly distracted us. Through the window, we saw the police cars driving down the street adjacent to the Gasm zone. We redirected our attention to the meeting. Ewald looked at me. I appreciate your visit today, and despite our differences, your willingness to meet me is noted. Throughout my journey, I've held faith in collaborating with individuals who genuinely share my vision. The presence of the right allies amplifies our potential. Your attitude and choices as president has prompted me to reflect on the significant gap that exists between us. Regrettably, this divide could pose challenges to the feasibility of any prospective business collaboration. Perhaps it's best for Mr. Alfonso, your approach to business doesn't align with my vision for Swordland. That's a shame. I still believe there's potential for us to work together in some capacity. I'm not here for your approval, Alfonso. My priority is Gus and, more importantly, the workers. That sounds eerily like what Mr. Saul would say when things didn't go his way. Let's not get heated. I understand that tensions are high right now, but I have faith that we find a solution where everybody benefits. However, for that to happen, I need to know, Mr. President, do you trust my judgment? I trust your advice. You've proven yourself a reliable ally. I believe we can find a way forward. I don't want to reject the deal outright. I do want to know what the deal is, though. Thank you, Mr. President. I propose a compromise. If you promise not to tighten the current restrictions on the Energy Protection Act, we can reconsider our stance and keep the deal on the table. Mr. President, I'm giving you a chance to prove your commitment to the people of Swordland and to our shared future. I hope you'll consider our offer carefully. This could be the beginning of fruitful partnership or the end of a potential alliance. As a further gesture of goodwill, would you consider making a personal donation to the Alfonso Foundation? It's a cause close to my heart, focusing on providing shelter for the homeless in Swordland. Let's proceed with the deal. The EPA restrictions will remain as they are, and I'll personally contribute to your cause for homelessness. Gentlemen, after careful consideration, I've decided to step away from this deal. I don't want to touch the EPA regulations. I'm actually okay with the way they are, but I also don't want to donate to your stupid little corporation. Your stupid little charity. Yeah, but we could take the deal. Why not? Amazing! I knew you two could make it work. Excellent, Mr. President. Your support for the homeless cause is commendable. Together, we shall ensure a promising future for Gasm. If the Sordish government chooses to invest, it would gain the voice of a broader company decisions, even as a minority stakeholder. That's right. That's what we're looking for. The government could either liquidate its shares at a future date or continue to reap the long-term profits. A beneficial arrangement for all parties. Ewald walked back over the window. He stood there silhouetted against the vast expanse of the gas fields. After a moment, he turned back to face us. His gaze was steady, the expectation clear in his eyes. The time had come to make a decision. Well, Mr. President, will Gasm and Swordland make history or not? Yeah. We're investing alone. Swordland will provide the majority of funds, and Gus will tell Rizia to back off. That's what I like to see. We do not want Rizia's investment. We'll co-invest with Rizia. We'll share the costs. Nope, we're gonna do a full investment. Rizia can fuck off. Go back to Grace. Tell these monarchists to stuff it. We shoot these bastards. We don't make deals with them. Your decision shows a commitment to Swordland's energy independence. We won't let you down. That's a bold move, Mr. President, but I reckon it's the right one. Gasm's success will be Swordland's success. The worried workers will have no fears about job security thanks to this state's intervention. Before we dive into the celebrations, I've allocated time during the meeting for President Rain to discuss any concerns regarding Gasm's treatment of its workers and its effects on Narbel. The labor union, along with the Communist Party of Swordland, has rallied substantial support for Gasm workers in Narbel advocating for improved local conditions. Alfonso nodded and looked at me. What is it? Before we dive into celebrations, allocated time during the meeting. The labor union, along with the CPS, has rallied substantial support from Gasm workers in Narbel advocating for improved local conditions. Our duty is to listen and take action. That's the mandate granted to us by the public. While sometimes people may not always recognize what's in their best interests, do you have a proposal in mind, Mr. President? The workers of Gasm need better housing, access to healthcare, and opportunities for education. As the leading industry there, Gasm can't ignore its responsibilities. The wages of Gasm blue-collar workers need to be increased. They are the backbone of our operations. I expect Gasm to contribute significantly to local charities and to aid the city's recovery. We covered a lot today, believe in a rapid meeting now. Well, I gotta go all in. You need better housing, healthcare, opportunities for education. You have to increase wages. Gasm can't ignore its responsibility. The workers of Gasm need better housing, access to healthcare, and opportunities in education, but they also need more wages. Oh, fuck. I would rather you just increase their wages. I fully agree that we must do more for our workers. Their welfare is an important priority for Gasm. I will personally ensure that we review their salaries and work towards providing them with a competitive compensation immediately. But the people need actions, not words. I look forward to seeing concrete changes, my dude. Ewald, your personal commitment to these initiatives speaks volumes. This could be a turning point for Gasm and for Narbel. Ray Quasar. Hello, Quasar. What's up? Welcome back, man. Go to sleep, Banana. Well, Mr. President, we are committed to. Suddenly, the meeting was interrupted. The quiet murmur of a conversation from outside the room grew louder, followed by the sounds of hurried footsteps. A member of the private security team entered the room, his face taut with urgency. He approached Alfonso and leaned in to whisper something in his ear. Ewald noticed solemnly, his gaze meeting mine with serious intensity. Gentlemen, it seems we have an unexpected situation outside. Some protesters from the labor union have blocked the main vehicular exits. Horton and Stoller seem to be leading the group. It would be difficult to leave the way we came without causing trouble. Well, that's a pickle. What's our move, Ewald? I have a helicopter ready. We can leave undetected and avoid the chaos and potential danger. I'm going out to the crowd. I'm going out to the crowd. This is your prerogative, Mr. President. Following the violent events of late, I heavily recommend against facing any crowd. Mr. President, I advise you leave via helicopter just in case. I can stay back and update the crowd on discussions today. Volkner rushed in. Mr. President, I have discussed the situation with Presidential Guard and Police Security. They are advising us not to go out the way we came in. More police are on the way. You must make a decision. Those are my comrades out there. We're gonna fight. Our government budget has decreased, my personal wealth has decreased, and there has been a large state investment into the gas corporation. More accurate, Quasar? It's time to read the news. A resounding vote for Gasm's future. That's right. That's right. A misstep in the millions. Your mom. Presidential generosity. Charity or camouflage? President's donations scrutinized. A pricey misstep. Swordland government's large-scale investment into Gasm has ignited a wave of criticism. Detractors argue that throwing money at a systemic issues plaguing the sector is far from a viable solution. This strategy, rather than addressing the root of the problems, raises questions about the government's economic vision and the future of our energy industry. Your mom, dude! Oh, you can't please these sullen socialists. Large state investment into Gasm. We'll see how it goes, though. Rebel has a bloodish freedom front under... Oh, new leadership. I see. Leave Gasm facility and Narbel. Decide on how to leave the facility. We're walking, we're gonna address the protesters. Take the car. It's gonna be fine. I've done this before. We're addressing the protesters. It's gonna be cool. As we stepped out of the towering front gate of the Gasm facility, I immediately became aware how tense the situation was. Gus stood to my right, his silhouette barely distinguishable from the monolithic edifice behind us. Sergei stood to my left, his eyes scanning the crowd with the precision of a hawk. The Gasm security had drawn their weapons in anticipation. No shit, fucking put your guns away, you what the hell? Forming a bristling wall around the perimeter. My presidential guard, in stark contrast, stood tall and unflinching at the entrance, shielding us from the sea of angry workers. The shouts of the crowd were deafening, the hostility palpable. Staller and Horton stood at the forefront with fire in their eyes. With a deep breath, I prepared to address them. Gus extended a megaphone towards me. My fellow Swords, we are here today not as adversaries, but as collaborators. Our purpose to invest in Gasm and ensure it invests in you. To the hardworking employees of Gasm, we stand with you today. Our shared goal is simple, to demand improving lives and working conditions for everyone. Good people of Narbel, they come here today seeking understanding and progress. We aim to bridge the gap between Gasm and its employees. Before any of you do anything too rash, I want you to take a good look around you. Hardworking employees of Gasm, we stand with you today. Our shared goal is simple, to demand improved living conditions and working conditions for everyone. We're not blind to your struggles, we seek to acknowledge them, address them, and above all, improve them. This is not a hollow point, but a step towards a stronger and more balanced Swordland. Remember, we are united by a common goal, a prosperous Gasm that cares for its workers. It's a fight we all must face together. Speeches and more speeches from President Rain. But what exactly was decided today? We need more than pretty words. Well, we need substance. She's right, Mr. President, we need details. What's going on for change for the workers? Now hold on a moment. President Rain is committed to bringing about real change. His actions and decisions demonstrate this clearly, even if it doesn't fit your little socialist narrative. Is that so, Manger? All I've seen are decisions that favor the likes of you and Alfonso, not the common workers. It's not about narratives, Manger. It's about ensuring a fair, dignified life for the working class, something your policies have consistently failed to do. Dennis, the focus here is not narratives or images, but on real, tangible changes. It's a process, and we're on the right track. I understand your skepticism, Dennis, but I assure you my administration is devoted to bringing about a better condition for our workers. Your words are compelling, President Rain, but can they truly outweigh the years of corporate dominance? Your intentions sound noble, President Rain, but intentions alone don't feed families or pay bills. We need concrete actions. Do you really like bananas, Banana Colada? Is that true? Enjoying this session? Oh, I love this game so much. Your boost to the police force, a disaster. Inexperienced personnel are not only useless, they're dangerous. They're making the situation worse. And what about the recent campaign finance bill, Mr. President? It's a direct attack on democracy, effectively silencing smaller parties like ours. It's clear from your lack of commitment to education that you don't fully comprehend the scope of the challenges faced by our workers' families. Mr. President, we demand that you support the upcoming workers' rights bill. The labor force of Swordland will be watching your next move closely. Furthermore, we want reform, reduce the election threshold, and change the Constitution to make a more democratic and fair nation. The people of Swordland have elected me to lead. I believe it's crucial to trust our government's judgment in these times of crisis. With the increased police force may have its challenges, it's crucial for maintaining peace and order in our society. Their training experience will improve over time. The campaign finance bills ensure fair funding for democratically elected parties. It's not an attack on democracy, but a measure to safeguard it. I understand the concerns and frustrations many of you have. Rest assured, we are here, we are listening, and we are committed to addressing these issues. Nice. What a thing to say. Quiet murmurs of discontent began to ripple through the crowd. The workers' faces seemed to turn even stonier. I could feel the tension growing. The presence of our guards did little to reassure me. Suddenly, a reporter pushed through the crowd, brandishing a microphone. The locals of Narbel have suffered under the impact of Gasm for years. What concrete steps are Gasm going to take to improve the benefit of the local community? Gasm has recognized the value of blue-collar workers and agreed to increase their wages. These hardworking individuals are the backbone of their operation. Increase the wages for blue-collar workers on whose labor its success rests. Decided to raise wages for its blue-collar workers. Wage increase is not a mere possibility, but a fact. This is a landmark. This is a substantial step towards ensuring the well-being. Not just Gasm's. The air suddenly felt somewhat lighter. Murmurs of conversation started to percolate through the crowd. Signs of animosity are dwindling. Do I like cola? No, not really. You like the pop? Where are you guys from? What the hell? Eventually, all fell silent as we waited for Dennis and Katarina to respond. So our blue-collar comrades are finally getting the attention they deserve, are they? I must admit, that's a step forward. But let's not forget, President Rain, that this is only the correcting a long-standing injustice. We will wait and see if these are empty promises, or if you truly intend to uphold the rights of our working class. An increase in wages, finally. It's about time, Mr. President. While I appreciate this apparent commitment, let's not pat ourselves on the back just yet. Real success will be measured in the paychecks of the workers, not in words spoken here today. Personally, donate a portion of my salary to Alfonso for the nation, and no, we're not announcing that. Fraction of my salary, Alfonso. Would that make you happy? Donate a part of my own income to Alfonso. It's a position of power. It's important to lead by example. Together, we can make a difference. Small step, I believe, in struggling with homelessness and income inequality. A group of figures emerged from the crowd adorned in unmistakable scarlet attire. The Red Youth had arrived. I realized this was no longer a mere protest, it was a symbol of broader, more potent struggle. The police began reorganizing their ranks, adopting defensive postures. I saw a few officers with nervous faces, belaying their inexperience, they stood at attention, visibly on edge. Could you shed some light on the possible deal between the Sordish government and Gazem? What role does the Kingdom of Rizia play in this arrangement? Our nation will shoulder the investment for Gazem. It's a bold step, but one that underscores our commitment to self-reliance and autonomy. The government of Swordland has decided to solely invest in Gazem. We believe this will lead to a direct positive impact on the citizens of Swordland. Swordland. A surprising but potentially promising decision, Mr. President. Let's hope your confidence isn't misplaced. Encouraging President Rain, as long as your government drives it to recoup your investment, doesn't take precedent over Gazem's struggling labor force. Nearby, a Gazem security officer and presidential guard member were conversing in hushed tones. I saw them glance at the crowd, now calmer but still restless. President Rain, while the crowd appears somewhat subdued, I would advise we exercise caution. It may be best to conclude your address and proceed to the vehicle. Thank you for looking out for me, Sergei. Let's get out of here. I'll remain here, Mr. President. The crowd seems calmer now, and I believe I can answer their queries and maintain the peace. You should go ahead. Mr. President, thank you for your willingness to address us. Let's continue these important conversations moving forward. You've shown courage today. We'll see if your actions match your words. Until next time. We've shown courage together. Now we will hold you accountable to your promises. The troubles of laborers are not over, and neither is the work of our union. Shake their hands. I reached out my hand, and Katerina shook it with a smile. Dennis followed suit. Almost immediately, the remaining tensions in the crowd dissipated. A few workers nearby broke into scattered applause. The initially hesitant clapping grew louder. Jubilant cheers and whistles filled the air. I saw the Red Youth members standing at the edge of the crowd with their arms folded, a hint of approval in their eyes. Ah, look at us. As I readied myself to leave, I turned back to Katerina and Dennis one last time. Most wouldn't come out because of fear faced going on the truth. As the conversation, it's always been going on. My job is to listen and act. As for accountability, isn't that what the government should be held to? You have my word. I understand your frustration and the urge to voice your concern. However, let's keep the discourse respectful and constructive. Awful, dude. Awful. Dialogue has only started. I assure both of you my commitment to progress and change is unwavering. I look forward to our continued conversations. I look forward to our conversations. The reporter jumped in. Can you clarify the current status of your personal relationship with it? No more questions, please. Mr. President, if you could please proceed to the vehicle. Damn. Sergei opened the door to the car. I lowered myself into the seat. The door closed behind me with a thud, sealing off the external noise. The crowd began to disperse, the individuals breaking away to let our convoy through. The guards took their position nonetheless, forming a human barrier around the vehicle. The engine purred to life, and we began to move. I'm glad we are safely on our way, Mr. President. Sergei, in this role, danger comes with the territory, but your concern is appreciated. A little excitement to keep us on our toes, wasn't it? That's one way to look at it, Mr. President. Keeps the job interesting, to say the least. The echoing voices of the protesters gradually subsided as we retreated from the scene and left Narbel behind. Let's get out of this shithole, dude. Sink that city into the ocean. Sink that city into the oil. Gazem salary review, upholding workers' rights. You better believe it. Tone deaf. President addresses misses the mark. Fuck you, Swordland. A beacon of hope. Better pay ahead. Workers' salaries increase and pressure. Gazem salary review. A delayed response? Damn socialist newspapers. Stability Order of 1954. An order to stop the operation of destabilizing youth organizations. An investigation on the influence of the Young Swords and Red Youth organizations on post-assassination unrest has concluded. Neither youth groups have officially organized or endorsed illegal actions, but several low to mid-level leaders from both have linked to inciting incidents that resulted in deaths, injury, and instability. This provides us with legal grounds to ban both, and we are only going to ban the fascists. Get the fuck out of my fucking country. Shoot these fascist bastards in the face. anti-Young Swords operations. Upon receiving the orders, thousands of police officers conducted cease-and-desist operations against the Young Swords. Our forces closed hundreds of organizational offices and affiliated businesses all around the country. Additionally, judges have given orders to block all bank accounts and to freeze all assets. Dozens of peaceful protesters from the members of the organizations were forcibly dispersed. One shootout in Gen was lightly wounded, 3 officers who are being treated in a hospital. Most of the organizational capacity of the entity has ceased, but cleanup operations continue. All remaining elements from the Young Swords resisting the order are now being considered as violating the law and are being arrested. Well, oh, we'd love to see it, dude. You have to pick a side. Even if you know you're running like a liberal centrist country, not picking a side is fucking like Krungo. Administration announcing ban on the Young Swords, effective immediately. All these motherfuckers are banned. We have an overview of the government, policies on government. Young Swords are now banned. Situation: limited human rights. Your mom, dude. Me when I can't express like political party like power by shooting at a bunch of communists. Oh no, my rights, no. Hello, Ola Yi, what's up? Did I stub my toe today? Not today. Not today. Finalization of the drafted constitutional changes. Oh, that's so stressful. That might have to be saved for next stream. But I would like to look at the Regeneration Ecological Economic Act. Alright, let's take a look at this act. Because I'm not familiar with it. How was my day? Pretty good, pretty good. Not too bad. Speaking of toes, one of them seems to hurt when I apply pressure. Is that okay? Yeah, Quasar. Actually, the more pressure you apply, the stronger your foot will be in the future. The Gruni Regeneration and Ecological Economic Nurturing, and that is the state of Gruni in the southeast. The Green has been proposed by the Assembly, aiming to encourage a more sustainable approach to the industry in Gruni. Section 1 of this act would impose stricter regulations on industrial pollution and waste disposal, particularly in the Gruni region. Businesses not complying with these new standards may face hefty fines, the revenue from which would be invested back into environmental recovery projects. Section 2 proposes to offer tax breaks to businesses that can demonstrate a significant reduction in their environmental impact over a period of time. A small investment fund is created for eco-friendly business practices, and I will be signing this, even though it's going to cost us a point of budget. Oh boy, we're down to... and I think we can take out a deficit of 20, which is interesting, to say the least. Green Act signed, a leap into the dark. The Green Bill is signed, a victory for the environment. Let's take a look at our economic policy investment into Gruni and the Gruni Regeneration and Ecological Economy Nurturing Act. Look at us! Look at us, protecting the environment. Alright, this is where I'm going to call it. I'm going to read a chapter. I'll be right back. And we'll be back with another chapter of The Jungle by Upton Sinclair tonight. I hope everybody's having a good night so far. I think we have like 2 chapters left. Tonight and tomorrow night, maybe. We'll see. But I hope everybody's having a good time so far. Let me actually get some music rolling, because I forgot that I was using that music. How about some Tiny Tower tonight? The tiniest of towers. Ooh, that's funky. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm gonna take a quick break, and then I'll be back with some reading. Ah! Meow! You're still not made of wheat? What are my pronouns? Take a guess. Take a guess. I dare you. I dare you to take a guess. Alright. Tonight we'll be reading chapter 30 of The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We're almost done. I think this chapter and then one more chapter. And then we'll be finished. We'll see how Jurgis gets along. He's just come out of a meeting with the communists. What have they to say to him? Let's take a look. Chapter 30. Jurgis had breakfast with Ostrinsky and his family, and then he went home to Elżbieta. He was no longer shy about it. When he went in, instead of saying all the things he had been planning to say, he started to tell Elżbieta about the revolution. At first, she thought he was out of his mind, and it was hours before she could really feel certain that he was himself. When, however, she had satisfied herself that he was sane upon all subject except politics, she troubled herself no further about it. Jurgis was destined to find that Elżbieta's armor was absolutely impervious to socialism. Her soul had been baked hard in the fire of adversity, and there was no altering it now. Life to her was the hunt for daily bread, and ideas existed for her only as they bore upon that. All that interested her in regard to this new frenzy which had seized hold of her son-in-law was whether or not it had a tendency to make him sober and industrious. And when she found he intended to look for work, and to contribute his share to the family fund, she gave him full rein to convince her of anything. A wonderfully wise little woman was Elżbieta. She could think as quickly as a hunted rabbit, and in half an hour she had chosen her life attitude to the socialist movement. She had agreed in everything that Jurgis, except the need of his paying his dues, and she would even go to the meeting with him now and then and sit and plan her next day's dinner amid the storm. For a week after he became a convert, Jurgis continued to wander about all day looking for work, until at last he met with a strange fortune. He was passing one of Chicago's innumerable small hotels, and after some hesitation, he concluded to go in. A man he took for the proprietor was standing in the lobby, and he went up to him and tackled him for a job. What can I do? What can you do? The man asked. Anything, sir, said Jurgis, and added quickly, I've been out of work for a long time, sir. I'm an honest man, and I'm strong and willing. The other was eyeing him narrowly. Do you drink? He asked. No, sir, said Jurgis. Well, I've been employing a man as a porter, and he drinks. I've discharged him 7 times now, and I've made up my mind that's enough. Would you be a porter? Yes, sir. It's hard work. You'll have to clean floors, and wash spittoons, and fill lamps, and handle trunks. I am willing, sir. All right. I'll pay you $30 a month and board, and you can begin now. If you feel like it, you can put the other fellow's rig. And so, Jurgis fell to work and toiled like a Trojan till night. Then he went and told Elżbieta, and also, late as it was, he paid a visit to Ostrinsky to let him know of his good fortune. Here he received a great surprise, for when he was describing the location of the hotel, Ostrinsky interrupted suddenly. Not Heinz! Yes, said Jurgis, that's the name. To which the other replied, then you've got the best boss in Chicago. He's a state organizer of our party and one of the best known speakers. So, the next morning, Jurgis went to his employer and told him, and the man seized him by the hand and shook it. By Jove, he cried, then lets me out. I didn't sleep all last night because I had discharged a good socialist. So after that, Jurgis was known to his boss as Comrade Jurgis, and in return, he was expected to call him Comrade Heinz. Tommy Heinz, as he was known to his inmates, was a squat little man with broad shoulders and a florid face, decorated with gray side whiskers. He was the kindest-hearted man that ever lived, and the liveliest and inexhaustible in his enthusiasm, and talking socialism all day and all night. He was a great fellow to jolly along a crowd, and would keep a meeting in the uproar, when once he got really worked up. The torrent of his eloquence could be compared to nothing save Niagara. Tommy Heinz had begun life as a blacksmith's helper, and had run away to join the Union Army, where he had made his first acquaintance with graft in the shape of rotten muskets and shoddy blankets. To a musket that broke in the crisis, he was always attributed the death of his only brother, and upon worthless blankets, he blamed all the agonies of his old age. Whenever it rained, the rheumatism would get up in his joints, and then he would screw up his face and mutter, "Capitalism, my boy, capitalism." He had one unfailing remedy for all the evils of this world, and he preached it to everyone, no matter whether the person's trouble was failure in business, or, dyspepsia, or a quarrelsome mother-in-law. A twinkle would come into his eye, and he would say, you know what to do about it, vote the socialist ticket. Tommy Heinz had set out upon the trail of octopus as soon as the war was over. He'd gone into business and found himself in competition with the fortunes of those who had been stealing while he was fighting. The city government was in the hands of the railroads were in league with them, and honest business was driven to the wall, and so Hines had put all his savings into Chicago real estate, and set out a single-handed to dam the river of graft. He had been a reformer member of the city council, he had been a greenbacker, a labor unionist, a populist, a Berrianite, and after 30 years of fighting, the year in 1896 had served to convince him that the power of concentrated wealth could never be controlled, but only destroyed. He had published a pamphlet about it, and set out to organize a party of his own, when a stray socialist leaflet had revealed to him the others had been ahead of him. Now for 8 years he'd been fighting for the party, anywhere, everywhere, whether it was the GAR reunion, or a hotel keepers convention, or an Afro-American businessman's banquet, or a Bible Society picnic. Tommy Hines would manage to get himself invited to explain the relations of socialism to the subject at hand. After that, he would start off upon a tour of his own, ending at some place between New York and Oregon, and when he came back from there, he would go out to organize new locales for the state committee, and finally, he would come home to rest and talk socialism in Chicago. Damn, this guy. Hines Hotel was a very hotbed of the propaganda. All the employees were party men, and if they were not, they were quite certain to be before they went away. The proprietor would get into the discussion with someone in the lobby, and as the conversation grew animated, others would gather about to listen, until finally, everyone in the place would be crowded into a gossip, and the regular debate would be underway. This went on every night. When Tommy Hines was not there to do it, his clerk did it, and when his clerk was away campaigning, the assistant attended to it, while Miss Hines sat behind the desk and did the work. The clerk was an old crony of the proprietor's, an awkward, raw-boned giant of a man with a lean, sallow face, a broad mouth, and whiskers under his chin, the very type of the body of a prairie farmer. He had been that all his life. He had fought the railroads in Kansas for 50 years. A Granger, a Farmers Alliance man, a middle-of-the-road populist. Finally, Tommy Hines had revealed to him the wonderful idea of using the trusts instead of destroying them, and he had sold his farm and come to Chicago. That was Amos Struver, and then there was Harry Adams, the assistant clerk, a pale, scholarly-looking man who came to Massachusetts, of Pilgrim stock. Adams had been a cotton operative in Fall River, and the continued depression in the industry had worn him and his family out. He emigrated to South Carolina. In Massachusetts, the percentage of white illiteracy is 0.8%, while in South Carolina, it's 13.6%. Also, in South Carolina, there is a property qualification for voters, and for these and other reasons, child labor is the rule, and so the cotton mills were driving those in Massachusetts out of business. Adams did not know this, and he only knew that the southern mills were running. But when he got there, he found out if he was to live, all his family would have to work, and from 6 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning, so he had set to work to organize the mill hands, after the fashion in Massachusetts, and had been discharged. But he had gotten other work and stuck at it, and at last there had been a strike for shorter hours, and Harry Adams had attempted to address a street meeting, which was the end of him. In the states of the far south, the labor of convicts is leased to contractors, and when they are not convicts enough, they had to be supplied. Harry Adams was sent out by a judge, who was a cousin of the mill owner with whose business he had interfered, and through the life nearly killed him. He had been wise enough not to murmur, and at the end of the term, he and his family had left the state of South Carolina, Hell's backyard, as he called it. He had no money for car fare, but it was harvest time and they walked one day and worked the next. And so Adams got at last to Chicago and joined the Socialist Party. He was a studious man, reserved, and nothing of an orator, but he always had a pile of books under his desk in the hotel and articles upon his pen from beginning to attract attention to the party press. Contrary to what one would have expected, all this radicalism did not hurt the hotel business. The radicals flocked to it, and the commercial travelers all found it diverting. Of late, also, the hotel had become a favorite stopping place for Western cattlemen. Now that the Beef Trust has adopted the trick of raising prices to induce enormous shipments of cattle and then dropping them again and scooping in all they needed, a stock raiser was very apt to find himself in Chicago without enough money to pay for his freight bill, and so he had to go to a cheap hotel. And it was no drawback to him that there was an agitator talking in the lobby. These Western fellows were just meat for Tommy Hines. He would get a dozen of them around him and paint little pictures of the system. Of course, it was not a week before he had heard Jurgis's story, and after that he would not have let his new porter go to the world. "See here," he would say in the middle of the argument, "I've got a fellow right here in my place who's working there and seen every bit of it." And then Jurgis would drop his work, whatever it was, and come, and the other would say, "Comrade Jurgis, just tell these gentlemen what you saw in the killing beds." At first, this request caused poor Jurgis the most acute agony. It was like pulling teeth to get him to talk. But gradually, he found out what was wanted, and in the end, he learned to stand up and speak his piece with enthusiasm. His employer would sit by and encourage him with exclamation and shakes of his head, when Jurgis would give the formula for potted ham, or tell about the condemned hogs that were dropped into the destructors at the top of the immediately taken out again at the bottom, to be shipped into another state and made into lard. Tommy Hides would bang his knee and cry, "Do you think a man could make up a thing like that out of his head?" No, certainly not. And then the hotel keeper would go to show how the socialists had only real remedy for such evils, how they alone meant business with the beef trust, and when, in answer to this, the victim would say that the whole country was getting stirred up, that the newspapers were full of denunciations of it, and governments taking action against it. Tommy Hines had a knockout blow already. Yes, he would say, all that is true, but what do you suppose is the reason for it? Are you foolish enough to believe that it's done for the public? There are other trusts in the country, just as illegal and extortionate as the beef trust. There is a coal trust that freezes the poor in winter. There's a steel trust that doubles the price of every nail in your shoes. There's the oil trust that keeps you from reading at night. And why do you suppose it is that all the fury of the press and government is directed against the beef trust? Let me get a drink. And when to this victim would reply with these clamor enough over the oil trust, and the other would continue, 10 years ago, Henry Lloyd told all the truth about the Standard Oil Company in his Wealth versus Commonwealth, and the book was allowed to die, and you hardly ever hear of it. And now, at last, two magazines have the courage to tackle Standard Oil again, and what happens? The newspapers ridicule the authors, the churches defend the criminals, and the government does nothing. And now, why is it all so different with the beef trust? Here, the other would generally admit that he was stuck, and Tommy Hines would explain to him that it was fun to see his eyes open. If you were a socialist, the hotel keeper would say, you would understand that the power which generally governs the United States today is the railroad trust. It is the railroad trust that runs your state government, wherever you live, and that runs the United States Senate, and all the trusts that I have named are railroad trusts, save only the beef trust. The beef trust have defied the private car, have defied the railroads. It is plundering them day by day through the private car, and so the public is roused to fury, and the papers clamor for action, and the government goes on the warpath. And you poor common people watch and applaud the job, and think it's all done for you, and never dream that it's really the grand climax of the century-long battle of commercial competition. The final death grapple between the chiefs of the beef trust and Standard Oil, for the prize of the mastery of ownership of the United States of America. We're about to be illiterate with this one, yeah. Such was the new home in which Jurgis lived and worked, and which his education was completed. Perhaps you would imagine that he did not do much work there, but that would be a great mistake. He would have cut off one hand for Tommy Hines, and to keep Hines Hotel a thing of beauty with his joy in life. That he had score of socialist arguments chasing through his brain in the meantime did not interfere with this. On the contrary, Jurgis scrubbed the spittoons and polished the banisters all the more vehemently, because at the same time he was wrestling inwardly with an imaginary recalcitrant. It would be pleasant to record that he swore off drinking immediately and all the rest of his bad habits with it, but that would hardly be exact. These revolutionists were not angels, they were men, and men who had come up from the social pit and with the mire of it smeared over them. Some of them drank, and some of them swore, and some of them ate pie with their knives, and there was only one difference between them and all the rest of the populace, that they were the men of hope, with a cause to fight for and suffer for. There came times when the vision seemed far off and pale, and a glass of beer loomed large in comparison. But if the glass led to another glass and too many glasses, he had something to spur him to remorse and resolution on the morrow. It was so evidently a wicked thing to spend one's pennies for drink when the working class was wandering in darkness and waiting to be delivered. The price of a glass of beer would buy 50 copies of a leaflet, and Wood could hand these out to the unregenerated, and then get drunk upon the thought of the good that was being accomplished. That was the way of the movement that had been made, and it was the only way that it would progress. It availed nothing to know of it without fighting for it. It was a thing for all, not for a few. A corollary of the propositions, of course, was, that any who refused to receive the new gospel was personally responsible for keeping Jurgis from his heart's desire, and this, alas, made him uncomfortable as an acquaintance. He met some neighbors with whom Elzbieta had made friends in the neighborhood, and he set out to make socialists of them by wholesale, and several times he all but got into a fight. It was all so painfully obvious to Jurgis, it was so incomprehensible how a man could fail to see it. Here were all the opportunities of the country, the land, the buildings upon the land, the railroads, the mines, the factories, the stores, all in the hands of a few private individuals called capitalists, for whom the people were obliged to work for wages. The whole balance of what the people produced went to heap up the fortunes of these capitalists, to heap and heap again and yet again. and that in spite of the fact that they and everyone about them lived in the unthinkable luxury. And was it not plain of these people to cut off the share of those who merely owned? The share of those who weren't would be much greater? That was as plain as 2 and 2 makes 4, and it was the whole of it, absolutely the whole of it. And yet, there were people who could not see it, who would argue about everything else in the world. They would tell you the governments could not manage things as economically as private individuals. They would repeat that and think that we're saying something. They could not see the economical management by masters meant simply that they, the people, were worked harder and ground closer and paid less. They were wage earners and servants at the mercy of exploiters whose one thought was to get as much out of them as possible, and they were taking an interest in the process, were anxious lest it should not be done thoroughly enough. Was it not honestly a trial to listen to an argument such as that? Make a drink. You see it, Graham, you see it. And yet, there were things even worse. You would begin talking to some poor devil who had worked in one shop for the last 30 years, who had never been able to save a penny, who left home every morning at 6 o'clock to go tend a machine, come back at night too tired to take his clothes off, who had never had a week's vacation to his life, had never traveled, never had an adventure, never learned anything, never hoped anything. And when you started to tell him about socialism, he would sniff and say, "I'm not interested in that, I'm an individualist." And then he would go on to tell you about socialism was paternalism, and that if it ever had its way, the world would stop progressing. It was enough to make a mule laugh, to hear arguments like that, and yet it was no laughing matter, as you found out, for how many millions of such poor, deluded wretches there were, whose lives had been so stunted by capitalism that they no longer knew what freedom was, and they really thought that it was individualism for tens and thousands of them to herd together and obey the orders of a steel magnate, and produce hundreds of millions of dollars of wealth for him, and then let him give them libraries, while for them to take the industry and run it into suit themselves and build their own libraries, that would have been paternalism. Like. Sometimes the agony of such things as this was almost more than Jurgis could bear, yet there was no way of escape from it. There was nothing to do but to dig away at the base of this mountain of ignorance and prejudice. You must keep it the poor fellow. You must hold your temper and argue with him, and watch for your chance to stick an idea or two in his head. And the rest of the time, you must sharpen up your weapons, and you must think out new replies to his objections, and provide yourself with new facts to prove to him the folly of his ways. Just arguing with everybody you meet. So, Jurgis acquired the reading habit. He would carry in his pocket a tract or a pamphlet which someone had loaned him, and whenever he had an idle moment during the day, he would plod through a paragraph and then think about it a while he worked. Also, he read the newspapers and asked questions about them. One of the other porters at Heinz was a sharp little Irishman who knew everything that Jurgis wanted to know. And while they were busy, he would explain to him the geography of America and its history, its constitution, its laws. Also, he gave him an idea of a business system of the country, the great railroads and corporations who owned them, the labor unions and the big strikes, the men who led them. Then at night, when he could get off, Jurgis would attend the socialist meetings. During the campaign, one was not dependent upon the street corner affairs where the weather and the quality of the order were equally uncertain. There were hall meetings every night, and one could hear speakers of national prominence. These discussed the political situation from every point of view, and all that troubled Jurgis was the impossibility of carrying off the small part of the treasures they offered him. There was a man who was known to the party as a little giant. The Lord had used up so much material in the making of his head that there had not been enough to complete his legs. But he got about on the platform, and when he shook his raven whiskers, the pillars of capitalism rocked. He'd written a veritable encyclopedia upon the subject, a book that was nearly as big as himself. And then there was a young author who came from California and had been a salmon fisher, an oyster pirate, a longshoreman, a sailor, who had tramped the country and been sent to jail. He lived with the Whitechapel slums and been to the Klondike in search of gold. All these things he pictured in his books, and because he was a man of genius, he forced the world to hear him. Now he was famous, but wherever he went, he still preached the gospel of the poor. And then there was one known as the millionaire socialist. He had made a fortune in business and spent nearly all of it in building up a magazine, which the post office department had tried to suppress and had driven to Canada. He was a quiet-mannered man whom you would have taken for anything in the world but a socialist agitator. His speech was simple and informed. He could not understand why anyone should get excited about these things. It was a process of economic evolution, he said, and he exhibited its laws and methods. Life was a struggle for existence, and the strong overcame the weak, and in turn were overcome by the strongest. Those who lost in the struggle were generally exterminated, but now and then they had been known to save themselves by combination, which was a new and higher kind of strength. It was so that the egregious animals had overcome the predaceous. It was so in human history that the people had mastered the kings. The workers were simply the citizens of industry, and the socialist movement was the expression of their will to survive. The inevitability of the revolution depended upon this fact, that they had no choice but to unite or be exterminated. This fact, grim and inexorable, depended upon no human will. It was the law of the economic process, of which the editor showed the details with the most marvelous precision. And later on came the evening of the great meeting of the campaign, when Jurgis heard that 2 standard bearers of his party, 10 years before there had been in Chicago, a strike of 150,000 railroad employees and thugs had been hired by the railroads to commit violence, and the President of the United States had sent in troops to break the strike by flinging the officers of the Union into jail without trial. The president of the Union came out of his cell a ruined man, but also he came out a socialist. And now for just 10 years, he'd been traveling up and down the country standing face to face with the people and pleading with them for justice. He was a man of electric presence, tall and gaunt with a face worn thin by struggle and suffering. The fury of outraged manhood gleamed in it, and the tears of suffering little children pleaded in his voice. When he spoke, he paced the stage, lithe and eager, like a panther. He leaned over, reaching out for his audience. He pointed into their souls with an incessant finger. His voice was husky from the much speaking, but the great auditorium was still as death, and everyone heard him. And then, as Jurgis came out from the meeting, someone handed him a paper from which he carried home with him and read, and so he became acquainted with the Appeal to Reason. About 12 years previously, a Colorado real estate speculator had come up his mind that it was wrong to gamble in the necessities of life of human beings, and so he retired and began the publication of a socialist weekly. There had come a time when he had set his own type, but he had held on and won out, and now his publication was an institution. It was used as a carload and paper every week, and the mail trains would be hours loading up the depot like little Kansas towns. It was a 4-page weekly which sold for less than half a cent a copy. Its regular subscription list was 250,000, and it went to every crossroads post office in America. The Appeal was a propaganda paper. It had manner all on its own. It was full of ginger and spice of Western slang and hustle. It collected news of the doings of the plutes and served it up with the benefit of the American working mule. It would have columns of the deadly parallel, the $1 million worth of diamonds, or the fancy pet poodle establishment of a society dame. Beside the fate of Miss Murphy of San Francisco, who had starved to death on the streets, or of John Robinson, just out of the hospital, who had hung himself in New York because he could not find work, it collected the stories of graft and misery from the daily press, and made little pungent paragraphs, most of them, 3 banks of Bungtown, South Dakota, failed, and more savings of the workers swallowed up. The mayor of Sandy Creek, Oklahoma, has skipped with $100,000. That's the kind of rulers the old partyites give you. The president of Florida Flying Machine Company is in jail for bigamy. He was a prominent opponent of socialism, which he said would break up with a home. The Appeal had what it called its army, about 30,000 of the faithful who did things for it. It was always extorting the army to keep its dander up and occasionally encouraging it with prize competition for anything from a gold watch to a private yacht or an 80-acre farm. Its office helpers were all known as the Army by quaint titles: Inky Ike, the bald-headed man, the red-headed girl, the bulldog, office goat, one hoss. But sometimes again, the Appeal would be desperately serious. It sent a correspondent to Colorado and printed pages describing the overthrow of the American institutions in that state. In a certain city in the country, it had over 40 of its army in the headquarters of the Telegraph Trust, and no message of importance to the socialists ever went through that copy of It Did Not Go to the Appeal. It would print great broadsides during the campaign. One copy that came to Jurgis was a manifesto addressed to the striking working men, of which nearly 1 million copies had been distributed to the industrial centers, wherever the employers' associations had been carrying out their open shop program. "You've lost the strike," it was headed, and now what are you going to do about it? It was what's called an incendiary appeal. It was written by a man into whose soul iron had entered. When this edition appeared, 20,000 copies were sent to the Stockyards district, and they were taken out and stowed away in the rear of the little cigar store. And every evening on Sundays, the members of the Packingtown locals would get armfuls and distribute them on the streets and in the houses. The people of Packingtown had lost their strike, if ever a people had, and so they read the papers gladly, and 20,000 were hardly enough to go around. Jurgis had resolved not to go near his old home again, but when he heard of this, it was too much for him. And every night for a week, he would get out the car and ride out the stockyards and help to undo his work of previous year, and when he had sent Mike Scully's 10-pin center to the city board of aldermen. Oh, sorry. Okay. It was quite marvelous to see what a difference 12 months had made in Packingtown. The eyes of the people were getting open. The socialists were literally sweeping everything before them that election, and Scully and the Cook County machine were at their wits' end for an issue. At the very close of the campaign, they betrothed themselves of the fact that the strike had been broken by blacks, and so they sent for South Carolina Fire Eater, the Pitchfork Senator, as he was called, a man who took off his coat when he talked to working men and damned and swore like a Haitian. These meetings they advertised extensively, and the socialists advertised it too, with the result that about 1,000 of them were on hand that evening. The pitchfork senator stood there fusillade of questions for about an hour, and then went home in disgust, and the balance of the meeting was strictly party affair. Jurgis, who insisted upon coming, had the time of his life that night. He danced about and waved his arms in excitement, and at the very climax, he broke loose from his friends and got out into the aisle and proceeded to make a speech himself. The senator had been denying that the Democratic Party was corrupt. It was always the Republicans who bought the votes, he said, and here was Jurgis shouting furiously, "It's a lie, it's a lie!" After which, he went on to tell them how he knew it. That he knew it because he had bought them himself, and he would have told the pitchfork senator all his experiences. Had not Harry Adams and a friend grabbed him about the neck and shoved him into a seat. That was chapter 30 of The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. Not the most fiery, but you get the point. Damn socialists. Anyway, I hope everybody has a good night. I hope everybody had a good night tonight. I will see everybody tomorrow for the final chapter of The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, as well as some Roblox. Bye bye everybody. Have a good night. Johnny!